When we bought it, it was yellow. Now it's gonna be white.
That's a big job.
Oh, we were just like, these now there's another generation. First I was like, oh gosh, what if it's just our two counties? Yes. It's meant to be.
I like it. I know. She smells good. I'm a little upset. It's something I said. We're the only public hearing that there's like a 5 hour.
You read it though. Went out and emailed. I'm gonna go for different copies right now.
Are you sure? I should have brought water. No, I should have brought water. Should have, yeah. With the smoke. Choking. Hey, Trey, how are you? Good to see you.
How are you guys doing today?
Real good.
It's gonna make that beautiful wavy line.
Yes.
It's one more year till high school.
Time's going by way too quickly.
Yeah. Get to a certain point with patching drywall, it's just easier to pull it down.
Yes.
Says 12. Yeah. Start talking back. Nah, he's a good kid, for the most part.
He definitely He did add some.
He likes
That has not expanded.
certain rights.
No, but
Certain rights.
it doesn't. That's just such an idol spot.
Oh, you control the Wi-Fi. You guys don't already have. You recommended that to me, so we have it. I haven't really like gone deep into it yet because you haven't had to.
Oh, yeah, we do the weekends. When we got hung up there, with our boat, so we never really knew.
And then where the gangplank, that actually was covering rocks that clear from both sides. And we first had to do this, but one in time. Open step, but because there's only a certain part of the way. In addition to the and then we'll figure out like the landscape.
That's what people like on that.
They have seen some of them. I still am in touch with them through Facebook. And they have 9 kids in the when it's done, we'll invite, we'll invite.
It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission dated July 16th, 2026 to order. The first order of business is a very sad moment for all of us. I'm not sure the audience knows, but one of our commissioners, Jeff Lippincott, passed away this past week. And it was sad. Jeff is a longtime resident of the lake, a businessman in town, and very involved in town activities for a very long time. So I'd just like to have a moment of silence just to recognize Jeff for his services to this commission and to Winstead, and extend our condolences to his family. Okay, attendance, Stephen Molinelli, Chair, I got it. That wasn't recorded?
We picked you up on that one.
Okay. Just for the microphone in front of me that I neglected to turn on, we just had a moment of silence in recognition of Jeff Lippincott, and I'm taking attendance now. Stephen Molinelli, Chair, present, Russell Davenport, Vice Chair, absent, Frank Oliveri. Present. Gary Paganelli.
Present.
Matt Clausen.
Present.
Jamie Colligan.
Present.
Mary Ann Marino.
Present.
Kevin Bergio.
Present.
Under agenda review, anything from Jeff, Jeremy? Let me just go through my notes. The only thing I would like to suggest that, I don't know how long this meeting or how busy this meeting will be, that we not begin any new businesses after 10 o'clock tonight. Do we have consensus on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Approval of minutes for the June 17th, 2026 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah,
Make a motion,
I
please.
make a motion to approve the minutes from June 17th, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any modifications, any changes? All those in favor of approval?
I wasn't here, so.
So you're abstaining?
I abstain.
Okay, one abstention,
Two. I wasn't here either.
2 abstentions. Next order of business is a public hearing, Inland Wetlands Commission, application 26-11. The applicant is Vernon LeBlanc, and the location is East Lake Street, map 114, block 124, lot 007A, and the proposal is for a dock installation with littoral bound setback waiver requested, and that's section 380-7E. Will the applicant or a representative please come forward, introduce yourselves?
Thank you. My name is James Steck. I'm an attorney from Torrington. I represent Vernon LeBlanc, property owner.
And you are?
Vernon LeBlanc, property owner.
Thank you. Just for the records, in the normal course of a public hearing, we'll hear from the applicant, we'll hear from the commissioners. If the commissioners exhaust questions, then we'll hear from anybody in the audience who has anything to say regarding the application and how it applies strictly to wetlands. Okay, so, and I'm gonna request that if somebody makes a statement regarding wetlands, if somebody else raises their hand and would like to come forward and is gonna make the same statement, I'd like not to be repetitive, so please try to, judge yourselves on where we're going with this. Please.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and I just wanted to thank the commission for your accommodation in moving this over from the last hearing. We had hoped to have our survey finished and into you prior to that, but surveyors are very busy people right now. And the purpose of this application is to have a dock, a 32-foot long, 4-foot wide dock. My client owns property on Highland Lake, and I know that everybody has the survey. The property is 15 feet wide. And in reviewing section 380, I looked at the property requirements, and it says to qualify for a permit, a property must abut the watercourse or have legal access to the watercourse. And I know sort of the rule of thumb has always been the idea that you need 25 feet for a dock. And generally speaking, I can see how that was backed into with the 10-foot littoral boundaries and your 4 feet or 5 feet in the middle to fit the dock. But there is in your own regulation an exception which allows that should an applicant not own sufficient shorefront to meet the 10-foot buffer requirement from the littoral boundary of an abutting property, the applicant may apply to the commission for a waiver. So the first part of that I'd like to kind of emphasize from our perspective is that this was a consideration of the people who drafted this regulation. So they anticipated that there would be some properties on Highland Lake that might not fit the 25-foot window, right? I looked online, I tried to count them, but I lost count, and I'll be honest with you, I looked up, there's about 450 to 480 properties on Highland Lake that abut the water or have water access. In my non-scientific clicking on the GIS map review, I found only 4 other properties that are similar to this property, where it's less than, and I'm just looking at the boundary to boundary, I'm not looking at shoreline in that discussion, but the boundary to boundary that are less than the 25 feet. So this exemption was written, and on Highland Lake, there's about 5 or maybe maximum 10 properties that would ever fall under this exemption. The other thing to emphasize is that the property is owned by my client as a fee interest, okay? It is subject to rights of way. And I know that there are some letters in the record that I'll address in a few minutes about rights of way and things like that. With an easement and with a right of way, any right not transferred to the person who holds the easement is retained by the owner of the fee. So it's almost like I always explain to people like layers. You own the bottom layer, and then there's a layer on top of that, which is the right to access the water. And I know there are about 4 or 5 properties that have the right to access the water on this driveway. I also know that the rule and the law is that we can't kind of consider private property rights and the rights of easement holders when looking at whether this works for the location. However, you know, I will also point out that your considerations under 380.4C also include effect to ingress and egress from the shore. So there is a consideration that your commission has to look at that. And for that,
Would you repeat that statement again?
under your considerations, under 380-4, section C, you have A through H of your requirements. And one of the things you can look at is effect on ingress to and egress from the shore. Now, it's unclear to me whether that's water to the shore or if that's land to the shore. I'm not quite certain what that means, but that's up to the commission to decide. But I think it's all under the same standard, which is the question of reasonableness, okay? So even if you own a right-of-way to access the water, it's subject to state law and case law that says that it's reasonable access to the water. So it doesn't mean access to all the water, it doesn't mean only access to the water, or only you get access to the water. It means that as long as you have access to that water and it is reasonable, then it's acceptable. There are 3 cases, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, 3 cases. I printed out 2 for the commission. You know, I didn't submit them earlier because I pulled the letters came in, you know, the latest one was July 14th, so I didn't have, I wanted these in response to the letters that were submitted. But there's one case called Stefanoni v. Duncan, where a very similar issue arose where easement holders were asking to do what my client's asking to do. They wanted to put in this case it was a walkway into the water because they had a right to access the water. And the Supreme Court found that they did not have that right. even though that would facilitate access to the water, it was access only, and the fee owner retained the right to what the Supreme Court called wharf out. So they said if we did allow a dock, it would interfere with the owner's right to put a dock in. So what that tells me is that the Supreme Court assumed in that analysis that an owner of an easement that had access had a right to put in a dock of their own. So I want to just make sure that I get across that it's not a violation of any easement to put a dock on this property. It's not a violation, even though we're not in the jurisdiction of the property rights. It's as long as there's access to the lot, to the water. And I did print out the quote from the 2023 case talking about the use of an easement must be reasonable and as little burdensome to the servient estate as the nature of the easement and purpose will permit. The fee is the servient estate. So the second one I found was a case that relied on Stefanoni, and it is from 2025. This is a Superior Court case, but it used Stefanoni to talk about a case where in Wetlands, and bear with me because I'm just going to find my note here. Where the individual wished to put a walkway, metal walkway, and they pointed out that it was an easement question. It was for the courts. It wasn't for what we're doing here. Although I know that that's going to be kind of in the mix. I want everybody to just kind of have these things to look at, if you'd like.
Have these documents been introduced to the town people yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay. So will you provide copies to them?
I have 11 copies right here that I've made. 11's the number, is it? Or 10?
It's plenty.
Okay, because I don't want to carry them around anymore, so if you'd like to. So here's the copies. Thank you. I also know that there are a few letters in the record from neighbors who are talking about the use of the location. And I just want to point out that there's a letter in here from Attorney Ellen Marino, dated June 13th, 2026. It's addressed to Shane Bordenaro, who I assume is the person who submitted this, and I agree with everything in this letter. This letter is completely accurate. He does have the right to access the property, to access the water. And there's no sort of attempt to restrict or argument about that. Again, though, it is colored by the fact that it is reasonable access to water. So as long as access is provided, we're only using 4 out of the 15 feet for the dock. There's still 11 feet left, which is the vast majority of the location. And I don't know if any commissioners have had an opportunity to go to the property and look at it. But it's very much like a little stone cove area. And my client's well, I'll let him speak to this later, but the real motivation for it is not even to have a boat. So everybody's worried about boats. I was encouraging him not to like waive his right to a boat necessarily, right? Because it's a dock and maybe he'll want one in the future, but he doesn't even want one right now. So my suggestion to him was maybe limit the size of the boat. So I can understand why if you have a dock and there's 11 feet here, and then you put a giant yacht, like a super yacht there, you're gonna block access. I would agree with that. A jet ski though, I don't think would be too restrictive, and it would be further out on the dock area. So one thing that this also provides, your regulations, is that the commission, if they do approve this request to waive the littoral boundary, that you can set conditions on it. So one of your conditions could be only small boats. You are probably much more expert in the boat sizing than I am because I am not a very seaworthy individual. But I'll leave that to your discretion in terms of the boat. Really, it's the goal of it is to give a safe spot for for Vernon and Kristen's kids to be able to fish off of, jump off of into the water, swim. Right now, it's very rocky at the top of that thing. Fishing, you get caught in the rocks. You know, anybody who's fished in Highland Lake knows that there's lots of rocks down there. My parents own a house, this is an aside, where it used to be Lois Clough's house. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. It's right on the cove over by one of the little islands. And even fishing there, it's like all sand. We throw a line in, and it's nothing but rocks. So, you know, that was Ellen's letter. Attached to this, Attorney Marino, I should say, sorry. Attached to this is a map of the revised plan of Highland Lake Manor, and that shows all of the lots. So there's not like 100 lots that own, a lot of these properties are actually made up of multiple lots. So this is a little deceptive in that it looks like there's 40 lots, but really there's more like 5 or 6 that have been combined. And all of those, not every single one of them, but many of them have access rights to Highland Lake. The July 7th letter from Mr. Gary Meyer and Sean Meyer says, we've been told in our own previous personal experiences that rules are rules and are not meant to be broken. And I agree with that statement. We're not trying to break any rules here. We're asking for a waiver. We're trying to follow the rules. And I think that the implication that we're trying to break rules is a little bit, you know, I was disappointed that that was the tack. In terms of setting precedent for other rights of ways around the lake, there's really only 5 properties that are this skinny, and I already know that there's plenty of rights of ways around the lake that have docks on them. There's one directly across the street on Shore Drive that is a 25-foot right-of-way, and it has a dock on it. You can see it from the bottom of this property. So I don't think you're setting any new precedent by allowing for the dock. Also, the June 17th letter from Ms. Barry is the same sort of analysis with regard to access, and we don't disagree that she has access to go swimming in the lake. We don't think that we are blocking that access by using 4 feet of it for a dock. Then the other letter from Jeffrey and Rebecca Lippincott and Keith and Jordan Seaver. It's funny, I actually did their real estate closing when they bought this house. And so I agree that they have access rights to the property. But throughout these sort of letters, the theme is this idea that it's a slippery slope, that if you grant a waiver here, it's going to cause all these docks to appear on Highland Lake, which I don't think is the case. And I think that you get to evaluate them on a case-by-case basis. In this particular case, I think it's a strong one for allowing the waiver because we have pushed the dock all the way to one side on purpose. And the reason we did that was because on the northerly side of where that dock would be is a pier of rocks, sharp rocks and very shallow rocks. Nobody is going to put a boat there. If you do, you will sink your boat there. So the idea would be to place it in the water all the way to the right as you're facing down, leaving the 11 feet on the left for anybody to access the water. You can definitely get a kayak in there. And then put a railing on the side of the dock so that it's just, you know, we're not gonna be jumping off into, even though you're allowed to swim in the lake, right? Anybody can kind of, at my parents' house, like I mentioned earlier, people are always pulling their boats right into the cove, fishing right there. They're allowed to do that. It's just that we're gonna restrict that, mostly honestly to respect the boundary and also for safety reasons because he doesn't want the children jumping off onto the pile of rocks that is there. You know, I think it's up to you. I do think that what I didn't mention at the beginning of my presentation is I'm also the vice chair of the Torrington Zoning Board of Appeals. And on the Zoning Board of Appeals, we analyze requests for variances. And when you look at a variance, you're looking at aspects about the land that are different than every other property around it. And that's what allows you to, in those cases, to grant the variance. And the analysis under this waiver is kind of similar. It says, you know, consideration for conserving the public health, safety, welfare, property values, owing to conditions especially affecting such parcel, but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it's situated. A literal enforcement of this chapter would result in exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship, which is exactly what the standard is, and it fits here because we are a thin lot. We're a small lot. It is 15 feet wide. It is different than the other lots in the zone, and it would be a good candidate, in my opinion, for a variance. Trying to make sure other than that, if I could just have my client address the commission just to tell you what it's for, what they're hoping to accomplish with the deck, and then, you know, we're happy to take questions. And if I may reserve a little time to, if I may be permitted anyway, to respond to submissions from other people, if you'll permit that, I'd appreciate it. But other than that, Brendan, if you'd like to
Sure.
tell them about your...
So the reason we're applying for the dock is pretty simple. You know, this is our cottage. This is where we spend the majority of our time during the summer. And
Look up.
this is where we spend the majority of our time in the summer. So having 3 little kids, my youngest is 3 years old, and my oldest is 12. You know, we're at the water all the time. So they have kayaks and they have paddle boards, and they also love to fish. So the problem with this area is that it is a cove of rocks, and my youngest is always hurting herself on the rocks. She's going down into the water, she's slipping on them, she's stubbing her toe, she's falling into the water. It's a hazard. It truly is dangerous for such a little girl, for such a little person. And then my sons, they love fishing. So they're constantly getting snagged on the rocks. They're coming up to the sides of the cove that are dangerous. They're getting their lures stuck. They're, you know, it's a big inconvenience. And you know, we love the lake. I mean, we bought up there, we remodeled the property. You know, it really is a big piece of our family. So really what this is for the safety of our kids, and so that they have like a safe place to launch the kayaks, a safe place to launch the paddle boards, and so they're not getting hurt. And like Jim said, I'm not a car guy, I'm not a boat guy, I'm a family guy, and not Peter Griffin. You know, so for me it's all about the family. You know, I want them to be able to enjoy the lake like everybody else does around us. And that being said, you know, if you want to put restrictions on a boat, if there is a boat in the future, I would be okay with that. I mean, if there's a jet ski, I don't really care. Like I said, the objective for me right now is not a boat. It's for the safety of my kids. So that's pretty much it.
Do you have any questions, or is there anything we are missing that you need to
We're
hear?
gonna have a conversation. Let's go around the table. You want to start, Jeff? Any concerns, any thoughts?
None to speak of at this point.
How many other people have access to this right away, like have rights or?
So I'm gonna just cheat here and just count, because I think it is 1, 2. So one person owns 2 properties. Both of those properties have access. So if we count it by property, 7. And it's funny because some of the properties on that map don't actually have access, which I was surprised about, including Mr. Meyer's property, because I figured it out eventually, he's on the water. So he didn't need water access to that spot, is my guess on the logic behind that. But you really have to, I was in the land records hours, because some of the deeds just say rights on the right of way. and then you have to go and find how far back that went, and sometimes it went 40 years back to find a reference to what the actual access right was, but it generally says access to the water.
Well, my question is about the rocks that you're talking about. So, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to go look at the property, but are you proposing that this dock go over the rocks, or?
I almost forgot, if I may. So I printed this out on my computer because I didn't have time to get the staples to print out enough of them. This is my wife's AI artistic rendition of what this would
I
look
don't want
like.
an AI rendition. I just want to know if the dock is going over the rocks. And so the access that remains, is that not going to be rocky?
It remains rocky. There is a photo, I don't know if it's possible to, sorry, I can tell you where it was.
Well, I'm looking at this right here.
It was in 89 East Lake Response was the, yep, that's it, perfect. So it's a little hard to see, but in front of the deck there it's like a little wall of rocks, and then there's rocks in the water as well. So this would be on the right-hand side, and we would not be proposing to alter anything about the other access there, the rocks on the left, unless you asked us, if the commission wanted us to move the rocks or clean them up, we would do that. It's just,
So the rocks go all the way around the entire cove, and then they go into the cove probably 3 to 4 feet. To the right, that property, they've done work to that. That's their seawall.
When you say to the right.
On the photo, so.
to the north,
so
property.
Where the white fence is, or
Yes.
the other fence?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So it's had masonry work done to it for their seawall. It's a beautiful property, beautiful fence that goes around it. So that's the safest location.
So are the rocks from these walls on the other side and that are parallel, like the sort of, did the walls fail? Is that why the rocks are in the water? And are the walls stable?
So I'm not sure about the stability of the wall, but the jetty that we reference, if you took that wall, that rock wall on the side where the white fence is, and went straight out into the water, there's just a big pile of rocks that goes straight out into the water for about 20 feet.
Okay, beyond the furthermost part of the neighboring wall?
Yep.
But what about
Into the
in
water.
this little cove?
So in this cove, like I said, it goes out probably 3 or 4 feet with rocks, and then it's sand.
I don't know
all
if it's,
sand.
And are the rocks from, what I'm trying to get at is, did these seawalls fail? Is that why there are rocks there?
There-
And should the issue about your children tripping over rocks maybe be solved rather by fixing walls? That's my question.
was there a seawall there?
So I don't believe there was ever a seawall there. What that's doing is it's basically retaining the water.
These are, we call them seawalls, but they're lake walls. They're,
Yep.
yeah, so I guess what I'm asking, maybe Jeff, you can tell me, like, are those walls stable? Those walls really need to be fixed? Are the rocks?
I'm not a building
Probably
official,
from-
judging by the height, I mean, it's a stack of rocks. I'm not gonna call it a wall.
Yeah.
So it's a little,
Mary Ann, you're talking about the wall that goes out from the white fence? Is that the wall you're talking about?
The opposite side.
That
and
side?
That
Yeah.
side and the side that's right in front of the two Adirondack chairs, right? Because they just look like they're walls that have degraded over time.
Jeremy, could you put your cursor, I don't know if you can, there's a stake no, the other side where Mary Ann is, right
There,
there.
yep.
See the stake, Mary
Yeah,
Ann?
mhm.
So you're not gonna talk now, sir?
The stake was for, the guy had a jet ski 2 owners ago. On that one.
I think he wants to orient himself in my question.
What stake is for, that's all.
So the first question I'll ask is that stake the property line?
No. The property line is actually buried right at the very edge of the nicely put-together masonry wall, right here, yeah.
And then if on the survey, it shows the other boundary line is at the tip of that wall right there.
And so to answer your question, I do construction, I do masonry work. There's no mortar on any of those rocks. It was never a seawall or a lake wall.
So you measured this here.
And there's
Oh,
no,
you measured from there.
there's no
Oh, I didn't.
plan
That's what-
with this dock plan to repair that wall, make that more stable
I-
and limit the erosion that's happening right now?
I wasn't, no, I was just applying for the dock. I was gonna put it back behind that, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. If that was a condition, I would definitely be open to it.
Well, it just
'Cause
seems
right
like
now, I
the
mean-
reason you want the dock is so that your children don't slip on rocks. But if the rocks from the walls continue to tumble in and your walls are failing, it seems like that's actually the
The
problem.
water is very, very shallow there. Those rocks aren't moving, really.
I mean, some of these rocks on like the left-hand side are so massive, I mean, you would need a bulldozer to literally move them. And
I visited the site, today. I didn't see any signs of like erosion or anything like that
Okay.
present.
Yeah.
Can I say something? There are easements like this throughout the whole lake. You mentioned Shore Drive, I live on Shore Drive, there's two, one owned by the town, one owned privately. And on Perch Rock, I know the person who just bought the one from another private owner. But it could be owned privately, but must be allowed access to everybody. Mostly, these easements were for people living off the lake on the other side of the street to allow them access to the use of the lake. And that's what they're there for.
Yeah, which we don't disagree with, which everybody, there's access to the water right there.
But a permanent easement means it's open to the public, not closed off,
Well,
not used for other things.
This one is not a public easement. This is an easement that was deeded through this is only an easement that's applicable to the lots on that map. There are no other people who have rights to go down that water. It's not public. There are many types of easements. Some of them are public.
So this easement isn't used for the people on the other side of East Lake Street?
No. No.
Just
Oh,
for-
well, other side of
If
East
they
Lake
had-
Street,
Yes,
they are. They
If
are.
they had deeded rights.
Right.
That's what I mean,
So
that's what these
there are-
easements are
Yeah.
throughout the lake.
Yeah, sorry, I
Some are owned by the town, some are owned privately. But even the privately owned ones must leave it accessible to anyone using that easement.
I think he's articulated that the easement itself, from where it begins toward the street
Right.
and where it ends at the water line, they're not contesting or in any way going to prohibit, nor can they prohibit, anybody who has a right to
Well,
that
what I'm
easement
saying though,
to
once you
access.
agree that there's an easement, you're not allowed to put anything on an easement, within an easement.
The easement
There is
is-
no,
the-
you're not allowed to put a structure within an easement.
The
on an
easement, just a minute, the easement is the land,
Yes,
not the water.
yes, but you're not allowed to put anything, the easement goes out to the bulkhead, so part of that easement is in the water. You are not allowed, by public, you are not allowed to put a permanent structure within an easement.
I respectfully disagree. I've been practicing for 25 years, and that's not an accurate statement of easements. So I understand what you're saying in terms of restricting access. But it's reasonable access, it's not absolute access. I actually had a case in Morris where my client owned the fee. The person had an easement, a right to pass and repass. I think you're really focused on, so an easement holder, a person who holds the easement, the right to access, the right to go and cross and pass and repass, cannot block the easement. A fee owner cannot impede the access of a person who has that right, okay?
But that means you can't build anything on it.
It does not. It does not. The Supreme Court in that Stefani case said the exact opposite of what you're saying, because it would impede the owner's right to wharf out if the easement holders exercised rights over the water. So I respectfully,
I
There are plenty of, and if, even if you disagree, sir, I can appreciate that. It's not before your commission in that sense. Access is, in terms of rights to easements, and that's what the second case talks about, where it, what, you know.
I think what's before
Yeah.
this commission is the dock, the request to put a dock in the water,
Yes,
not usage of the easement.
yes, sir.
Jamie?
I'm still trying to digest
I
it all.
can hear you.
I'm still trying to digest it all. I don't want to deny anybody a dock, but I just want to make sure it fits into the parameters. That's all.
And we did try and approach the northern property owner, I sent them a letter, you know, if they had any questions. We didn't get any real response, and I went to the property myself and kind of like probably hung around a little too long in the back, hoping to talk. The only response that we had to the letter was the little string of buoys you see in that picture appeared after our letter went out. But that's the only like change that occurred. I haven't been able to talk to the people to the north, but they haven't opposed or agreed with us on the boundary line.
With this dock, you're gonna limit the amount of water frontage to the public, to property owners, down to 10 feet, correct?
11 feet, yeah.
No, your dock is a foot off the,
Okay, so
okay, your numbers are wrong, your whole statement.
technically they can walk on that 1 foot.
Four, not a 15, needs 10.
Right, so 10, yep.
So you're down to 10. How many people actually use it? Since
So
you've
in my
been there,
experience,
how much of a crowd has got 10 feet of water?
so out of all of these people, in the time that I've owned this property, there's only one guy that comes down with his dog and his wife regularly. Other than that, I have not seen anybody who has written a letter on the property. It's pretty quiet.
I actually spoke with Rebecca Lippincott on the phone. She called my office and about when we continued it to ask if it was being moved. And I was surprised by the letter because at that time she said she had no issue with it, but if she's here, I'll let her speak to it. Her father-in-law, or her father, I'm sorry, is Gary Meyer. So they go to Gary's house and use his waterfront right there versus, she does have the right to use this, but I think it's better down the lake a little bit.
Could you talk about the right to pass and repass? What does that actually mean per the deed?
Well, it's just access to the water that we're, yeah.
Just access to the water.
Looking at the picture, that you see it, I see it in the back.
Have access.
Looking at the picture, there's a white fence on one side, that's where you're proposing the dock, on that side.
Yeah, that side.
And then there's a black fence that protrudes further toward the water. That fence is a neighbor's fence.
Correct.
To the left, looking at the picture, there's looks like a stone wall of some kind.
Yep.
Who owns that stone wall?
I think that Vernon owns that stone wall.
No, I don't. I don't
On
believe I
the,
do.
on the survey, it looks like you do.
On the survey you do.
Yeah. You're pretty much right in line with that chain link fence.
Okay, because where the square bar is from the original survey that was done by,
Usually the drain pipe
What
would
was his
be
name?
in the center of.
John
the
DeCar, I think.
no, it's the guy right on Main Street, Keith.
Okay.
By Keith, his square set bar is right to the left-hand side of that, so it's right in the ground. I do not,
That wall, I visited the site twice, once a month ago and once again today. A month ago, those chairs and what you see in the picture weren't there. Now they're there now. That would be a concern
that's not true.
for access of using the easement. My understanding of that kind of an environment, and I'll get to what I wanted to say in a minute, but was people who have the right to access the water through that easement could put a chair there, but at the end of the day, when they're gone, the chair is gone.
Right, right.
That's-
Unless you own the fee.
Unless you,
Own the fee, unless you are the owner of the property underlying the easement, unless you are any rights not given in an easement.
the
So
owner can leave a chair there.
Yes,
Somebody who has access to the easement can't leave a chair there.
Right, because well, it depends on the language of the easement. In this case, it's access to the water. I don't even know really, given the language of these, I mean,
Well, again, that's
but-
not for now.
but no,
Going back to
Yeah.
where I started, so that black fence going out into the water is clearly the neighbor's fence.
Correct.
And somewhere between that fence and that stone wall that is touching the water is his property, somewhere along there. And you're proposing, I think you're proposing, putting a dock from the edge of that stone wall, at the water end of that stone wall, out 15, 20 feet, whatever you're asking for.
the dock would actually, if you look at the picture, the chair right there, yep, thank you. That's about where the dock would start, and it would go straight out from there, parallel to that stone wall. And that stone wall almost continues underwater there with the jetty, so there's like,
And how much of a dock do you want to put out there?
I think what was requested was 4 by 32.
32 feet.
32 feet, and again, I didn't measure anything today and last month, but that stone wall is probably 10 or 12 feet, so out of the 32 feet,
We're getting 20,
you're
basically.
getting 20 more feet out into the water.
Right.
Why would you not want to start at the far end and go out from there,
At the far end, meaning?
of the wall? If he owns the wall,
Oh, we don't own the wall.
I don't
We don't
own
own the wall. Sorry, so we don't own that wall.
No,
We don't-
this
Yeah,
wall.
yeah, that wall, sorry. I'm looking at this one, and you're looking at that one, so I'm
I'm
putting it the
looking
wrong
at the
way.
white fence.
So we don't own the wall that has the white fence.
So right where the
That's
hand
nice.
is, if you go down right to where the water is, that's where my pin is.
Okay, so that's about where the stake is on
The
the
stake
ground.
is like, yep. No, yeah, that's,
So it makes up the boundary of the other neighbor's property, so we'd be
Okay,
going.
no, okay, that's where I'm confused.
And the reason we pushed it so hard to the side is because we didn't want to put it in the middle and violate both properties, right? And it makes the most sense to put it all the way to one side because of that rock jetty that is under the water, which renders that section of the lake not navigable anyway. You can't put a boat over that. You can't
What do you
swim on
mean
it.
by
by the
not
sun-
violate both properties? What do you mean by that?
Well, not impose upon the 10-foot imaginary littoral boundary buffer that we've created with the regulation. So now we're only moving it to one boundary buffer rather than both. Because if you look also, we're a little tight on the side with the wall that's deteriorated. There's a boat lift
Yeah.
that is sort of
I can see it on the survey.
on the survey. So we had to move it over for space reasons. Because I think, it's so that boats can get in and out. And also the neighbor to the north has a dock. It's about, I would estimate, and measure it, but I would estimate it's probably 50 feet toward the center of their property. So there's room there, in terms of the water location.
So essentially, what you're asking for is something that is to fix a temporary problem, right? You got kids hurt their feet. How much longer before your daughter's able to navigate the rocks without getting hurt? A couple of years, maybe?
sure, well, my son is 11 and he's still hurting himself on the rocks,
Well,
so.
regardless, it's a permanent structure for a temporary problem.
Oh, so this is a removable dock?
Yeah.
Right, the intent of this is to put the dock in, and then come winter, take the dock out. It's not intended to be permanent, it is supposed to go in, come out.
Well, it's permanent in that he could put it there for the rest of his life, or whoever comes after him and buys the property, right? So it's a permanent structure, even
Okay.
if it's temporary in deployment.
Okay.
But it's also to enjoy the lake as
It's-
well, right? It's,
It's like anybody that owns a property on the lake that abuts the water that has a dock. That's,
Right.
No.
Does
He's
anybody
just
else who
willing
has an easement there able to use the dock, or is that only for you?
no, there are other properties on the lake that have.
No, I meant in this case.
That has the right to
If he
use
builds
the
a
dock?
dock, the people who have the easement, who have access to the water there, do they
Yeah,
have
I mean,
access to
I'm-
the dock?
I'm very easy, as long as, there's insurance, liability waivers, I would be fine with it.
I don't
would be
think-
okay with it.
Right, and I, as his attorney, would make them sign a hold harmless, is all. So that if somebody slipped on the dock, then they're not trying to sue or do something like that against, so it would just be available, you know.
Excuse me, what, you say you own the easement, you own from East Lake Street down to the water?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And the entire road, and then my house is off of the road. You can see it on the map there.
Just want to look at one thing, because there is another. So you'll see on this map, Vernon owns the long easement.
Right.
There's also another easement that exists over here that goes to Mr. Meyer's house and the other house
I
here.
walk that way, yes, I know.
We don't own that one.
Okay.
Okay, we only own this one.
Straight from Lake Street, East Lake Street down to the water?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, the deeds on that are a tangle, because there's also rights to put pipes, there's rights to
Well, that's what I'm saying.
improve, there's all kinds of, yeah, there's like a 1/6 charge to fix the, you know, it's all in there. But the main part of this inquiry is whether we're, you know, the access to the lake.
And just for my purposes, again, the rationale behind putting the dock where you're asking for it is to cover the rocks, basically.
The rationale is because there is a rock jetty on that side, on this side.
When you say this side, we're looking at two different.
I'm trying to do I'm doing mirror, so on your side, the side with the white
Okay,
fence.
there's a jetty there.
Yep, there's a jetty there, so it made the most sense to place, yeah, that's a great picture of it, because that's when the lake is lower. That's when the water's lower, so you can see it, all the rocks that are normally under the water, that's the mess that's there. So by placing it there, we're not impacting, because I'm looking at your considerations, and I'm saying, okay, one of the considerations is navigability. So nobody can navigate on that anyway. So we thought putting it to that side was the best way to proceed.
Okay. Let me
Putting it on the other side gives you the most swimming access to, because you're not interfering or coming near the boat lift, which looks like it's clearly in the littoral boundary and shouldn't be. You know, that's for another time, but that boat lift is clearly in the littoral boundary.
It's tight.
It's not tight, it's in the littoral boundary, period.
It's not mine.
I know, I'm just saying for another conversation somewhere else, and it may be grandfathered in.
Right.
And all of that, but it's clearly in the littoral boundary.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't consider putting the dock on that side?
I didn't want to interfere with that gentleman's boat access, boat lift. If the commission sees fit, I would put it to the left-hand side.
Say it again?
If you saw it fit, I would change it over to the left-hand side.
I mean, the reason we chose that spot was because we were cognizant, we knew that this is a request for a variance of the littoral boundary. So we tried to pick what we thought was the most accommodating side of that to all of the neighbors of that location. So by putting it where we put it, in the application, we're not getting in the way of what he's already got, and in terms of the boat lift and the dock, and we're pretty far away from the dock that the neighbor has.
On the fence side?
On the fence side, to try and, you know, mitigate that.
Myself, Steve, I think that.
Talk louder, Gary.
The location that they're putting the dock now, or proposed to put the dock right now, if this goes through, is the better side to put it on, only for the fact that if it was on the opposite side, the kids dive off, and they're telling you that there's a jetty of rocks right there, it's not very pleasing to go. You only have 10 feet, and when you drive off as a 12, 13-year-old kid, you're going in the rocks.
All right, on the part of the commissioners, are there any other questions that we want to ask the attorney and the applicant? All right, would you mind stepping back and we'll hear from the public at this point?
If I can clean up the mess I've made.
Take your time. You're welcome. And whoever comes forward, just introduce yourselves, provide us with your address, And keep your comments related to the waterfront. No one, I think we've heard clearly that no one is challenging anybody's access from the right-of-way to get to the water. So it's a matter of usage of the water itself. So if you can keep your comments within that vein, that'll keep this commission focused and not distracted. So whoever wants to come forward, just one at a time.
Evening, and,
Evening.
my name is Lisa Berry. I own 75 and 75 and a half East Lake. First of all, thank you for your time and your service to the town and the residents of our
Would you
lake.
speak louder so the attorneys and the people behind you can hear?
I will try. I have
I'm just-
asthma,
I'm
and
just
my
trying to be
breathing
fair.
is very bad
So
today.
I'm just trying to be fair so that
Understood.
they hear what
Okay.
we're hearing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I've lived in my homes. I'm a permanent resident of the lake for almost 20 years. In that time, I have enjoyed the water. It is shallow enough up to the point of where the walls end that I can swim there. I'm 60 years old and I can still navigate the rocks without a problem. My 7-year-old niece has swam down there without a problem. My concern is that ability to enjoy that shallow area of the water in the future. If a dock goes in, that will limit my ability to enjoy that space. Mr. LeBlanc may own a lot of properties, income properties, which this has been up until the last 2 years an income property. And he does own the land, I will give him that. I absolutely agree with that, but he does not own the water. And I believe that the area that is available to swim right now is perfectly fine. The rocks are not inhibiting me as a 60-year-old woman. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to go down there recently because of work. I do work, in fact, first shift, so I have to be up really early tomorrow morning. But I appreciate being able to be heard and just to make my statement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions? Okay, anybody else in the audience? Oh, wait a minute. Two you got up.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll be quick.
Thank you. Your name?
My name is Robert Dombey.
And your address?
I live at 91 East Lake Street. I would just, I'll make a statement that I object to the granting of the waiver, and that's why I'm here to comment. I think my primary objection is that it would set a bad precedent for the issuance of waivers in other situations. I don't understand what the hardship is, and one of the conditions for granting the waiver is hardship. I don't, the current owner of the property, which, by the way, I'd like to highlight, the property in question has no residence, it's just an empty strip of land. Right. They own the adjacent property and use that land to access the lake, but the property in question that accesses the water doesn't have a cottage or a house on it, it's just bare land, which I think is important to the consideration here. I think that the placement of the dock would impair, when you look at that picture, even though there's 15 feet, you have the wall on the south side of it, which makes the access point of the water even narrower than the 10 or 11 feet that has been kicked around here earlier. I would also say, let's not be naive about this. There's gonna be a boat on that dock at some point, even if it's not the current owner. Who says they don't sell the property in 3 years, and then the new owner of that dock puts a boat on it and basically takes up all of the accessible access to the water. A boat on that dock would make it inaccessible to the people that have a right of way. So you know, whether or not there's any kind of restriction that can be placed from a boat or jet ski standpoint. And the owner, you've seen from the picture, I think the owner has already restricted the access by placing that platform and those chairs there. makes it difficult for people that might want to access with a kayak or a paddle board. It's made for very narrow access, so I don't think they've demonstrated a desire to make it accessible to the parties that have the right of way to that. I would point out that the owner is a near-term owner. They bought the property in 3 or 4 years ago. They full well knew that they couldn't have a dock there. They should have been fully aware of the conditions, and so to claim there's a hardship and have a waiver be issued as a result of that, well, you know, it's kind of a buyer beware situation. And the last point I would ask, or question I would ask, perhaps they can address it, is although this is a permanent structure that goes in the water, it's got to come out in the winter. My question would be, what are they going to do with it? They're going to put it on the right of way and provide more additional restriction to access to it, because that dock can't stay in the water. Otherwise, it's going to be destroyed, as we all know what the ice does. So I'd like to understand what they plan to do with the dock. Thank you. Any questions?
Do you have access to this right away?
I do not. I'm an adjacent property owner.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, I'm Craig Denon. I'm the owner of the property. My wife and I are the owners of the property at 89 East Lake Street, which is the property that has the white fence on it. We also oppose the dock, and for different reasons and things that haven't really been brought up yet. So my understanding is that there is no planning and zoning influence on any littoral issue. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. But if that is the case, then things that involve planning and zoning would be taken care of by this commission. And one of the things that we feel very strongly about is crowding and congestion in this area of the lake. In the letter I submitted, I brought in a Google Maps diagram that shows all of the docks, and in the 160 feet, which are immediately south of the right-of-way, there are 5 docks and 4 boat lifts, sometimes as many as 2 jet ski lifts. And there is a lot of traffic in this area. It's not only boat traffic, there are swimmers, there are dogs in the water all the time. We feel very strongly that an additional non-conforming dock would increase the congestion, and it really doesn't fit I think the objectives of what this commission does. Additionally, if you can put that picture up again, the one with the fences and one of the things I talked about in the letter is if you see just beyond the chairs, the area of stones that's there, they've actually modified it a little bit and done a very nice job. But over the years, what's happened is that cutout area that you see has increased in depth from, it's increased by about, it's about 12 feet long now. And the last 4 feet have happened since we put that masonry wall in on the right-hand side next to the white fence. So if you look at the wall itself, what you see is that it's very well constructed until you get closer to the shore. And that last 4 feet denotes the area that has eroded in the last 29 years since we built the wall. So we feel very strongly that if something isn't done about that wall, then it's going to erode. The soil will flow out between the rocks, and the rocks themselves will need to be either extended or filled behind. And if you're going to be stepping from the soil onto a dock, you're going to need to keep that area filled. And that will contribute to eutrophication and aging of the lake. And as to switch to a different topic. When I was a member of the Highland Lake Watershed Association, I was on the board for a while. It was my impression at the time that a property needed to have a dwelling on it in order to have a dock.
What?
A dwelling, a house of some sort, and I guess I'm gonna ask you, is that truly the case?
I'm gonna say no.
No.
It's not.
No.
Okay. And it's also my understanding this property was a separate sale from the property that has the dwelling on it.
That would be for the land records to remedy or provide you with an answer for, we're under the impression that Mr. LeBlanc owns a house and the right of way.
But that's not in dispute.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And I think that's it. Nancy, did you have anything else that you wanted to say? Oh, yeah, one other thing. It's not really all that clear to me that when variances are granted and when they aren't. Because when we tried to put up a wooden stairway on one side of our property. Okay,
Does
sorry.
this have
I'm
to do
Littoral.
with what we're
Okay.
talking about? If not, then,
Okay.
you know.
All right. Anything else? I didn't repeat things that other people said.
Take your time, but
The letter was
just stay
submitted in-
focused
Yeah.
with why we're here.
Yes.
Just want to make sure you received our letter and everyone has read it.
Go right
Okay.
ahead and take your time.
Have you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The gentleman with the hat before somebody else gets up.
Cheryl Krompagel, 85 East Lake Street. This is my husband, Michael. The property's been in the family for almost 60 years. The property here was a separate sale, and the easement that was granted to the 6 of us, or the 7 of us, I guess technically, own it, was sold for $1, and I still have the original paperwork. And that easement says that the owner of the small 15-foot area retains that right only for swimming and fishing. It does not mention anything about building a structure, and that's filed with the town.
Do you have a document to that effect?
I can get the document. I didn't realize that
No,
it,
okay,
yeah,
I'm
I
just
do,
asking.
yes, no, I do have the original document. Congestion in that area, we have police reports going back to the 70s. It's been very chaotic as far as like who owns it, who doesn't own it. In the early 2000s, the owner of the property had a jet ski that was attached to a cement ball with something. And, well, no, it was just a cement ball, and it was chained there. The Inlands and Wetlands Commission made that person remove the jet ski because it was interfering with other people's rights and access to that. So this isn't the first time that this issue has come before these commissions, going back to, like I said, that was the early 2000s when we remember that. We're concerned about the congestion. If there's to be a boat, that is our boat lift. We did appear before the Inlands and Wetlands Commission to get approval for that boat lift. We have our permits and everything was done the correct way. I realize it is on the border, but those boundaries weren't in place when we had the boat lift put in. We're concerned about if there's to be a boat, because again, it's a foot in, then you have the 4 feet of the dock. How wide is a boat?
8 feet or so.
8 feet, right. So then Highland Lake is windy, and it's difficult to navigate a boat. We've had issues, with that area of getting into the boat lift, and we're concerned about that if it's to be approved. So we oppose
I'd like
it.
you to provide us with the
I
documentation
can,
that you did
absolutely,
state.
yes.
And as far as the seawall, we had to repair ours just like Craig had to do his on the other side of our thing. So they just keep throwing, the kids come over there and they throw the rocks in the water, then he puts them back out again. So he's got to do something with that anyway.
And that part of Highland Lake, everybody has rocks in that side.
The whole
It
lake has
is
rocks.
rocky. So I understand. I had young kids too. I get what they're saying. It's just, that's gonna create a navigational hazard. It's too congested, it's not safe, and it's gonna restrict the other people that are there.
Thank you.
And where can I send that document?
I You can send it to the office.
Is it, do you have an email?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get it after. Thank you.
How are you guys? Good. My name is Shane Bordenaro. This is my wife, Maria Bordenaro. We live at 50 East Lake Street. We lived there since 2013. Her grandfather bought our property in 1947. And he had deeded access to this right-of-way here for swimming, fishing, and water use, as did her parents and now us. We've brought our kids down there before. They're now 7 and 13. They've managed to swim and play and have fun down there with no issues. As you can see, it's only 15 feet, and they mentioned reasonable access to the water. Well, if we take away 5 feet of that, we've lost a third of it. So now we're down to 10 feet to access the water, swim, kids play, do any fishing. If a jet ski goes in, that's another 3 feet. And then if a boat goes in, now we're down to 2 feet. So any kayaks, any canoes, anything won't be able to be launched and go into the water from the right-of-way. Like we haven't had any issues with the rocks there, with them playing. Nobody's ever been hurt. I'm aware that now they're saying that they don't necessarily want a boat, but like others have mentioned, if that property is sold, somebody else could park a boat there. And now this deeded right-of-way access that they've had in their family for 78 years is pretty much useless. And we won't be able to access the water for anything, swimming, boating, any of that. So it's just gonna cut down on the already minimal space that's there. We have taken our kids to fish multiple spots around the lake. While that, sometimes that one works, there's plenty of other places to go around to fish. There's spots all along Third Bay. You've got the boat launch if that doesn't work out. But I think that it should, the dock shouldn't be allowed because you're just going to restrict multiple people's access, their deeded access to this right away.
And I would just add that it's sort of deceiving when you're looking at this photo as well because of like when you first come off the grass, the amount of rocks and things in that area. If there is that dock or it makes it even more difficult to navigate to get into the water there.
That's it?
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get your address one more time for the record?
50 East Lake. 50?
Yes, 50. Thank you.
Hi. I'm Laurel Clark. I live at 58 East Lake Street. And my husband is actually the one that brings our dog down there frequently that Vernon had spoken about. And unfortunately, he couldn't be here today. He had a recent accident, so he would be here also if he could. We also are very much against having the dock there. Like I said, we bring our dog down there quite frequently to let her swim. We can't bring her to Risha Beach when the beach is open. Like, this is our access to get our dog down there. And as you can see with the Adirondack chairs, it's already like we have to navigate around. So if we were to try and navigate around with our kayak, our paddleboard, and there's a dock on the other side, it seriously limits it. The other thing that I don't know if you're aware about, that whole area, when it rains a lot, is soaked. Like, it's already sometimes very hard to navigate around there because your feet are sinking into the ground there. And as Maria and Shane had already said, the access is really kind of tight. I was actually just down there on 4th of July with our dog and my husband, and just standing in there, you don't feel like you even have a lot of space right now. And if a dock was put in there and even put a rowboat next to it, then where's our access? Like, there's a dock, a boat, and then the boat lift is essentially right there. How are we gonna get through to get to enjoy the lake? If our dog wants to, if I wanna throw the toy from my dog, like, she's gotta now navigate around a boat or pot, whatever there. So, I understand their want to enjoying it. We all kind of have the same want, is to enjoy the lake. But we also want to be able to have the same access we've been entitled to this entire time and not have to worry about navigating other obstacles while we're down there. And I know that they've expressed the fact that it's a 4-foot dock in a 15-foot section. That's a significant portion of our access to it. It's already a small access as it is, and we're just asking that it not be limited anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking, anybody else in the audience would like to speak publicly?
Hi, everybody.
For the record, introduce yourself.
I will. Candy Perez, 606 West Wakefield Boulevard. I just wanted to follow up with a few things. You asked us not to repeat what other people have said, so I will try not to do that. As a lot of people, and everybody wants to enjoy the lake. All neighbors want to. Neighbors that have been on the lake for a long time want to enjoy the lake, knowing that these existing regulations since 1993 exist and hope that they are enforced. I have a property, and there's a small piece of property next to us that if it were sold, it could significantly change depending on who buys it. And that's what this looks like, because I believe the property here was purchased in 2020. So the 1993 regulations did exist before that, before they bought it. So it's nothing that would have, that they could have like looked up and that. Talked about water safety and all that. That's something other people talked about. The attorney said that your decision won't set precedent. Yet he himself started with 2 precedents of legal opinion with the Supreme Court and one other. This will set precedent around the lake, because anybody would come in and go, you did it over here, you did it over there. We've seen that happen before. Having a dock, having been involved with dock and mooring for a long time, and having people that are very knowledgeable about it, including people that wrote this regulation, and having checked with them, having a dock is not a basic littoral right. The ability to walk into the water and access the water is enough to satisfy their littoral right. This deed gives many people the right to pass and repass and does satisfy that littoral right. We all have seen that things that start with no boats end up with boats. And any boat that went in there, whether it was a rowboat at 6 feet, 8 feet, is going to, at some point in time, unless you're really friendly with your neighbors, those boats are gonna start crossing all over the property, because that's just what happens. You could say no boat, but what happens when, and they brought this up before, what happens when the next person brought that? So, so I think if you look at precedent that you'd be setting and whatnot, I would ask you not to approve this.
I'm looking around, is there anybody else that would like to bring anything to our attention?
If I had a moment to just respond to a couple.
All right, my next thought would be, you had requested time at the end of anybody's public statements to sort of have your opinion regarding those public statements, and I think the commission would like to hear that. And just for fairness, if there's anything that the lawyer brings up or the applicant brings up, if there's anybody that might come forward to add something a little bit different in response to what they say, I would accept that too.
Thank you very much.
Please speak up, reintroduce yourself.
Yep, James Steck for the record, here with Vernon LeBlanc. And I'll be brief, I don't want to tie you up, because a lot of the things I think we went over. We understand that there's concerns about access to the water. I think that the law is its reasonable access. I know that, let me just grab my notes. In terms of hardship, I think I went over that. It's 15 feet wide. That's different than the properties in the zone. That's the legal definition of a hardship. I'm on the Torrington Zoning Board of Appeals, and that's kind of our purview, that's what we do all the time. Everybody's concern is that a boat will appear. If there is, my client does not want a boat, he just wants the dock. If you put a condition in place that says no boat, he will comply with that. If a boat appears, it comes back before you through your inland wetlands officer for a violation. If you ever wanted a boat in the future, he'd have to come back and ask your permission to modify your conditions. There's no,
Without being rude, if I bought his property and I wanted to put a boat in there, I would put a boat in there and be challenged. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not a big fan of conditions, because conditions open up a lot of gray area that I'm not encouraged to support. So, you know, leave the boat out of it, because that's an opinion, it's a commitment, it's his word.
I don't
But
think,
again,
right.
It
not
also
for
requires
me.
enforcement, so it's
Right.
putting a burden on the town to have to enforce something for one property owner.
So
It's a trade of,
continue-
it's a
continue
trade,
with
okay.
else.
It's a trade of burdens, but I think that we don't get to presume illegality or noncompliance
Okay.
with conditions. I think it's a thing that you can put in place. The congestion complaint is sort of ironic, given the location of the boat lift on that property that it was raised from. I can tell you, there was a question about title to the property. I did a title search on all these properties. This property was sold with that right-of-way. It's one deed. It is two separate descriptions. It is one transaction. So it is, and I can, if the commission needs it, provide the title search with all the records and show. The reference to this being limited in the owner for fishing purposes only is untrue. That's just not accurate. And then in terms of Ms. Perez's question about precedent, the precedent that you would be setting here by granting this would be in a case where there is less than 25 feet and there is a boundary that is impeded by a jetty with rocks. You can make it as fact-specific as you want in terms of the precedent. A grant of one waiver is not a grant of all waivers. It's in your purview to evaluate each application as they come in. And nobody gets to say, that's the, you know, I know that Ms. Perez might be concerned that somebody might do this or apply for this next to her house, it sounded like. And I can understand her concern with that, but that's going to be a factual determination at the time. I think that that's not a valid contention. You know, and I agree. There will be less room to swim a little bit, but I think it balances the interests of the person who owns the land underneath, that is the servient estate, and the people who have the right to go in the water.
Just so I heard you correctly, you said you would agree that the dock does impede people's ability to swim more freely.
I don't think that you can say that putting a dock in 15 feet of water wouldn't reduce the amount of swimmable water. That's just real.
I just wanted to be sure I heard what you said.
The question is it unreasonable to do that, or is it allowed? Is it reasonable? Is it a reasonable use of the fee interest in that property to have a deck? I know there's not a right to put a dock, but there is everybody acts as though it's automatically prohibited because it's a 15-foot lot. It's not. The conditions are property on the water and littoral boundaries that you can request a waiver from. So the idea that we bought it knowing there could be no dock is not accurate.
I think it's common knowledge that we wouldn't even be entertaining this conversation if the right to obtain permission for something in the littoral boundary weren't a right that you have. So we know that. Okay, anything else?
Can I say something? You just said something, a lot. This is a lot, but it is an easement. It's not a property lot like everybody else has on the lake.
And
it is an easement that allows access to everybody there. It is not a property lot. It's an easement.
It's actually a separately deeded lot, and it says to qualify for a permit, a property, this is a property, must abut the watercourse or have legal access to the watercourse. So your regulations contemplate just easement access to be able to get a dock. And I know that there have been plenty of times where easements have been granted for 25 feet where a dock was put on.
This town has these easements.
This is not a town easement. This is a private easement. This is owned by the landowner, and then certain people have rights over it.
At one time was a town easement.
There's no evidence of that, no. This was a large lot that was subdivided, and a right-of-way was granted to those lot owners, and the fee resides in my client. The town does not own that property and has no easement rights over it, like in title.
Okay,
Thank
anything
you.
else? We're at a, you can sit back now.
Thank you.
We're at a point now where there's been evidence introduced that by the attorney for the applicant, that's not new to the commission in the sense that, but we haven't seen it yet, so it is new, and we haven't had time to really read through it and digest it and sort of make an opinion of how we feel about it. There's been statements made and evidence that seems to be able to be produced to back these statements, which again, we haven't seen, and we don't know whether or not the statement and the evidence are inaccurate, are accurate before we review them. Having said that, we have a couple of choices. One, we can keep the public hearing open and continue it to next month. Or two, we can close the public hearing, but in my opinion, not take a vote on the applicant's request until we have time to look at all of the new evidence that has been introduced and will be provided, but nothing else can be introduced and nothing else can be provided. So what's your thoughts? Do we want to leave the public hearing open? Do we want to close it and saying, other than what people said they're going to give us and present to the town, will be the only thing that we will have in our packets next month and the only thing that we could talk about? What's your thoughts? Mary Ann, anything?
Well, I think Matt's about to
Oh,
say
go ahead,
something.
I'm sorry, Matt.
I'm just thinking if you're talking about delaying a vote till next month, if certain things come up when we review this packet, in my opinion, we should leave the public hearing open.
Okay.
Just to, so they could, give us evidence one way or another and introduce some stuff.
Yeah, because we had somebody speak here today who had a document you wanted to see.
And this stuff is all new,
We'll
which we
want
haven't
that
seen.
to be, yeah, so
Yeah.
I agree with Matt.
Okay, but again, if we keep the public hearing open, next month, people can come forward again and present more information. Okay, that's all. Gary,
No, I agree with that.
want to keep the public hearing open? You don't, okay? Any staff thoughts?
No, I think you're spot on. If there are documents that you want to see, that you want entered into the record, I know that there were some documents referenced that are in public places and you could go view them, but if you want it entered into the record, you should leave the hearing.
Yeah.
Should we keep the public hearing open?
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Oh, we should.
If there are documents that you want entered into the record, I would leave the hearing open.
Okay.
Yes.
These documents.
I think, from what I understand from staff, that because last month you requested a continuance that you weren't available, that gives us the right to extend the public hearing for one more month, and are we within that right?
Yeah, you opened the hearing tonight. Last month it was tabled upon that request. So
Right.
we opened tonight. You have 35
We have
days to
35
close
more
from the
days.
date.
Okay, so that's within the scope of next month's meeting. So everybody in the audience understands where we're headed? So we will continue and maintain the public hearing as being open as of next month. And at that point, we'd be obligated to close it
Correct. Without any extensions granted from the applicant, you would have to
unless
close
the
it next
applicant
month.
asks for an
That's
extension.
correct.
Okay, so everybody has a clear understanding?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody back here next month. And do we have a motion to continue the public hearing through the August meeting?
So moved.
Second? Gary, all those in favor? Okay, thank you very much for your politeness and staying on target. You're permitted to leave if you'd like, or you can enjoy the rest of the meeting with us. But anyway, have a good night, those of you who are leaving.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a good one.
Frank, did you vote in the affirmative?
No, negative.
Negative.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I didn't see Jamie's hand go up.
She did.
I saw a little.
You saw a little flat. Little one.
All right, next order of business becomes under old business, IWWC 26-4, and this is for Brian Avagon, the Sierra Home Improvements at 508 West Wakefield Boulevard, and it's a post facto application. Introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, I'm Mitch Motel. This is my wife Holly Motel. We're the owners of 508 West Wakefield Boulevard. Brian Avigny is our contractor, and he is away on vacation, so he couldn't make this, but we didn't want to lose the time. So we're here. Mr. Chairman, Commission, thank you for your time and your attention. We have on the Zoom Brian and Katie. Brian is from Cole Civil, and Brian and Katie put together the plan for stabilization and stormwater management, et cetera, that you people all received. I want to start by saying we bought the property just about a year ago, so we're new here. We are very excited to be on the lake. We're new grandparents, so we're looking forward to bringing up future generations of our family here. This is going to be our full-time residence, by the way. I just want to note that. This is not a vacation home or a summer home. We intend this to be our principal residence. We're going to live here, which is why we're interested in moving it forward. But it's, you know, it's fallen into a little bit of disrepair, as I'm sure you folks have noticed if you've been around the lake. And we want to bring it back to its former glory. So we're excited to have the chance to do that. So, Brian, can you hear? I am. Okay.
Yeah, hold on, I gotta switch the speakers, I'm sorry. Didn't know that until just now. Okay, that should be better.
Testing.
Now we're there.
Yeah, we're there.
All right, perfect. So for the record, my name is Brian Pancom with Cole Civil and Survey. We did both the survey up here and are doing all the engineering. So again, as Ms. Motel was so nice to introduce us, basically, as mentioned, the home has fallen into disrepair. There was quite a few items that needed to be corrected and fixed. Primarily well, sewer, so having water, having sewer connection, obviously very important, amongst some of just the other character related and just convenience related items of actually having the house fully repaired and restored and everything else. So we're going to focus primarily on the kind of more technical engineering side of things that have to get done. So we are proposing a new force main for the sewer system from the house all the way out to West Wakefield Boulevard. Also a new well, and obviously well location being determined kind of by best location for separation distances to both the building and sewer lines, and also just for feasibility. Being able to get the equipment in there to actually install that well, this was chosen as the best possible location. Other improvements from a storm drainage perspective, the house obviously being the age of construction had no roof leader collection system. All of the runoff from the house just went straight to the ground, which obviously eventually made its way straight to the lake. We have proposed infiltration systems, 2 of them, which will separate that water. So as the roof runoff for that first 1.3 inches of rainfall, which is your water quality volume, comes off the roof, goes into the underground storage systems. which will retain that water and infiltrate it back into the ground, providing some groundwater recharge. For the actual erosion controls that were provided, there is silt fence around the property right now. We are proposing to maintain all of the silt fence surrounding the property so that obviously no sediment or anything can get from the construction area to the lake itself. And then we're also proposing for specifically for that well drilling, obviously a depression be dug adjacent to that, so any of the water coming up during that process has a place to go, and then also a straw wattle around that directly. Again, just a secondary means of stopping any of that erosion and any of the mud from the digging itself making its way to the lake. Again, overall, the house itself, still the same size, the driveways, same location, the garages, so nothing really is changing from an actual site plan perspective. The things that we're changing are mostly underground features, which obviously will have some impacts, some construction impacts, and our goal with the erosion sedimentation control plan that we've put together is to limit any of the disturbance that might cause to the lake itself. We have put together, with the help of Factor Landscape Architect, a pretty comprehensive sedimentation and control sequence, construction sequence, and just outlining the overall process and how all of this stuff is to be done and then restabilized following the overall construction. And on that as well, that's been submitted to town staff. We've also very clearly outlined a responsible party should anyone notice any issues and report them to the town. The town has the direct contact of Mr. Avigny, the contractor, and his direct contact information, so he can be notified and any problem that may arise could be rectified immediately. In doing quite a bit of work for Serena Homes, their company, we will note that they are very clean. They do a tremendous amount of work and a great job, and we're very confident that between this plan and working with town staff and working with this commission, this project could very easily be achieved without any impact to the lake itself. With that, I offer to turn it over to our landscape architect, Ms. Factor. If she has any further information she'd like to add or any other comments.
Excuse me.
Closely with Cole. Can you guys hear me?
Would you move closer to your mic? We're not getting enough volume up here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm
Good.
gonna try. How's this?
Good.
Okay. All right. So backing up, I am Katie Factor. Members of the commission, thank you for having us here this evening. I appreciate your time. I'm working now closely with the homeowners and Brian and Cole, civil engineers, to bring this project to fruition. So it's a pleasure to meet you, and just want to reinforce the fact that we have closely outlined and reviewed the regulations that need to be followed. We're taking the first steps here with the plans that have been submitted to make sure that we are following the sedimentation and erosion control demands and requirements that need to happen. This homeowner is very interested in making ties in the community, very interested in doing the right thing. So we are here to make sure that, and I'm here to make sure that we are following those regulations, that we're gonna work closely with the civil engineer to continue to develop the site plan. As Brian pointed out, we are closely following the existing condition. The house needed a lot of repair, but it is being rebuilt in the same spirit that it came from. Our client has a great respect for the historical value of both the architecture and the site, and so we're very excited to meet you and to be part of this project. And if you have any questions going forward, certainly you're clear.
Well, let me start by personal observation. A lot of what took place prior to you becoming involved closely with the commission was really work that should not have been done without prior approval. So having said that, I have lost confidence in the fact that if you hadn't gotten caught, I don't know where this would wind up. It's not a pleasant statement to make, but I want to be sure that moving forward, that anything you're proposing comes before the commission as a proposal, not as a finished product, number one. And number two, I'd like you to consider, or we're going to impose it, that whatever you're proposing be reviewed by somebody that we select and you will pay for to sort of oversee the paperwork of what you want to do before it comes to reality on the ground, so to speak. So are we okay where we are now with my statements?
You mean an engineer?
An engineer possibly, or a landscape architect to oversee the site? You wanted to say something, ma'am?
Yeah. We're originally from the DC area, and to us, wetlands are swamp. There's a reason why they call DC the swamp, right? So we didn't know. Brian applied, our contractor applied for the permits, and whenever we've gotten permits in the past, the agency will tell you what you need. So it wasn't the case that we were trying not to get caught. We've been trying to be good citizens throughout, and we didn't know we're on a hill. Like now it all makes sense, but we haven't grown up on a lake. This is all new to us.
My purpose in making the statement was moving forward.
Yeah.
Understood, but I'd like you to know it came from a mistake, not from
I accept what you're saying.
Yeah.
I will say that I could have supervised our contractor more. I relied on him to find out everything that needed to be found out, okay? But I'm now sensitized to
I don't know
more
how much he's
supervision
worked
needs to
on the
happen.
lake.
Again,
we're all trying.
Again, I think it was good for you to hear, at least my perspective.
All right.
And you're acknowledging it, and I understand where you're coming from. So now we're on a level playing field moving forward, and that's all I wanted to establish. That whatever you want to do is a proposal until it's approved. When it's approved,
100%.
if you're consistent with the language of proposal, then we're going to be fine.
Great.
Good.
That sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Just ask a clarifying question. So I'd like to understand what exactly we're looking at tonight, because I know we haven't yet approved this post facto application for causeway reinforcement, tree removal, grading for walkout of basement, new well, and other site improvements. The meeting started with a conversation about the well and erosion and sedimentation control while the well's being dug, and also now.
So the well has
hang
not
on,
been dug.
Sorry. So I just want to get clarification about what we're talking about tonight. That's it. And now we're talking about these, the proposed underground infiltration chambers, which is great. And there's a landscape architect, but I don't, and a mention of methods and means for the landscape plan, but I don't see that in my packet anywhere. I just see a drawing.
Okay.
So I just want to understand clearly, what are we discussing tonight? And should we expect a future application for future work?
You should expect a future application. You do not have a full landscape plan because we're not ready to do that yet. That's why this plan has to do with stabilization and making sure everything is great with the things that we need to do to live there, right? To deal with the rainwater off of the house, which, as Brian mentioned, it's in the existing footprint, right? No change to the footprint of the house.
Right.
So stabilization, dealing with rainwater coming off of the house, dealing with the well. There was a well, there is a well. It is, I don't know how old it is, but it could easily be 100 years old. The inside of the pipe, let the record show, I'm curling my finger very, very tightly here. And so that's what we're talking about. We do anticipate probably next year coming back to you with a... Next year. We anticipate next year coming back with an actual landscape plan.
For you to review
Right.
and approve.
This is to make the landscape look pretty, not just to do the things that I just mentioned that enable us to live there.
So my understanding of that kind of a statement is that no landscaping work will be done. The silk fences and everything else precautionary that's up will remain up. And should there be a breach, that'll be improved on site immediately. But none of the land work is gonna move forward until we know about it and we approve it. Is that fair?
Right, we want
I
to.
think at this
Can I
point,
speak up real
Sure,
quick?
please.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
no, I was just gonna say, I think at this point, and Jeremy, correct me if you have a different feeling, understanding, I think it would be best to at least, obviously, the items that were originally done prior to this plan and the permit, so to speak, being issued, I think it would be best if we look at what the commission is approving as what's shown on this plan right now. So anything that has been done, obviously, we're asking for approval of that or for that, because it has already been done. So it doesn't make sense to come before this commission asking for approval for something that's already been done, or coming back for a separate application to say, is it okay if we grade this one area of the site out, even though it's already been done, at a later date? Obviously, the contractor and everybody should have come before this commission before any of that work was done. That's fully acknowledged. And our apologies for him not doing that, obviously. But to move forward in kind of a clean slate with the homeowners and the contractor in this commission, I think it would be best to probably go forward with all of these things that have been done as requests for approval for those. And then the moving forward items, as we mentioned, the well, the septic, or the sewer correction, rebuilding, the rainwater infiltrators, which I believe that was a direct request of the staff. And then I believe the intent is to maybe take out some of the stumps and stuff like that that are on the property that are in areas that need at least for some of this other underground work to occur. So instead of digging up the land twice, to do it at that point in time.
Can I just add to that real quick? Just real quick. My take on this, coming onto this project a little bit newer, is that, in an abundance of caution and understanding now that we have taken some steps that have been missteps, we would like to sort of separate out, and I appreciate your question, and I can't see your name tag off to the left there, but the young lady who asked the question, we would like to, oh, hi. So we would like to bring forth these items that have either already been executed or are near to be part of the next steps in the process of the construction and preparation for, and really making sure that we are stabilizing the site, that we are taking the steps with you all for these specific items now, rather than waiting for the entire site plan to be complete and bringing that before you. So my understanding is it's imperative at this point for this team to communicate to you not only what has already been executed in some sort of misstep, but also what the next steps are in order to help the commission understand what the intentions are, work through any of the immediate the immediate concerns, and then we plan to bring forth a more holistic, it's not just a pretty picture, it's gonna be pretty, but we're gonna certainly bring forth a more holistic final site plan that will include, this is like stabilization of the site, drainage, making sure that we are taking care of this lake. We have the same values as you do, and this homeowner is very interested in making sure that we make sure that we're following those requirements and taking care of the land. And then following this review, we hope to come back before you in short order with some additional site plan review. Just because we feel like we need to make sure that, we get back on the same page with all of you as a commission.
Can I just,
Yeah, please.
So to echo what I think Brian and Katie said, the two-pager you have here from Cole, right, is what is currently being proposed to be done. And I just want to, you mentioned the silt fences remaining in place. Number 14 says remove sedimentation prevention measures once all soils on site have established vegetation. I take it that means silt fences come out when that is true?
Hang on.
Katie, question mark?
Apparently this is in a worksheet that was left on our desks. It was not
Yeah,
in
so
our
we
packet.
just saw this now.
We don't have it.
Oh, well, you've got it? A couple of extra copies if anybody
Is
needs a
it?
short one?
No, this is not it.
On Monday, they were uploaded into the portal on Monday. I thought they were on your desk. I apologize.
No, I don't have it.
I don't see it either.
There
Maybe
is
they're
a
here.
narrative.
Can you just show me?
That's why I asked the question, because I didn't see it.
Understood. So let me just backfill a little bit on some of this conversation that we're.
Jeff's gonna Xerox them for us.
Guys,
Yeah, so that's something.
Great, okay, that's,
So
Go ahead,
I'll backfill a little bit. I spoke with Steve Judas, who is the principal of Cole Civil. I don't know, early last week, I think it was. We had a good conversation about the site, about what's out there currently, and about the next steps. So to answer your question, I think directly, what we're trying to deal with right now is getting the stormwater management systems in. There's 2 of them on there to take the roof water off the house. There was emergency repairs that were done to the causeway for the purpose of getting vehicles in and out of that site because the stones started to come apart. There is a recognition among all of us, and I think probably the property owners too, although I haven't spoken to you, so it's nice to meet you folks, that emergency repair is not going to stand up over time, and then that causeway will need to be removed. So emergency repairs can move forward, but they have to be permitted. So part of this permit right now is the emergency repair. That whole causeway is gonna need to be rebuilt under a separate permit. There's a recognition of that. It has to happen. There's no way around
so
it.
then we're not even gonna deal with the causeway.
You're not the,
That's one,
not the
that's part
permit.
of the
just
proposal.
the emergency.
It's just the emergency
It's
repair.
been done
that
already,
was done.
though.
It's already been
So
done.
then they'll use-
Like I said, those emergency
Yeah.
repairs, the way they work is they can move forward, but they still technically need a permit, so that's why the request is
proposal,
there.
as I see it right now, is post facto application for the causeway reinforcement down the road. Tree removal, which was basically done already.
Right.
Grading of the walkout basement area, which was done, there's a mesh of some kind on top of it just so you don't trip basically,
Right.
and nothing else. And a new well and other site improvements. The other site improvements is too ambiguous.
That's what we're trying to
Well, and
define.
that's how it came in, because, again,
That's
the
what-
contractor sort of got ahead of himself a little bit, and we've been trying to figure this out, and that's what the narrative is to clear that up. And right now, what that is stabilization. Grading's gonna remain the
We
same,
have to see it.
I understand.
Right, that Jeff's
That's why
about
I'm
to give it to
explaining
you.
it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
We have to see it.
yeah.
And you have to put us, understand, we're seeing it now.
Yeah, no,
Okay, you know,
we're sorry,
thank you.
we're just trying to get you all what you need.
While he's figuring that out, so this contractor, Brian, he's the one who did all this stuff?
Right,
beforehand?
yes, correct.
And then he was the one who was supposed to be here last month?
Yes, he thought it was Thursday,
Yeah.
even though he was informed it was a Wednesday last month.
Okay.
Has this been, we do not, as of now, have an engineer that has overlooked any of this, correct?
No.
Our
there's-
own?
No, we have
Your
not, we
Okay.
have not had Grimaldi do that, correct.
Okay. And we're heading in that direction, I'm sure.
I think you made the point for the landscape plan that comes in next, and I think that's perfectly fine. There's not a lot of engineering work for the stabilization of what's out there right now, but I'll leave that to you.
But we don't know that. Okay.
Correct. I will say, timeline-wise, we are up against the clock, so we need to kind of deal with that.
Well, you know, when you say we're up against the clock, not because of the commission.
I
So,
understand that.
You know,
Right.
okay.
I understand that. And I'm not.
Can we take a minute to read this sequencing?
What?
I just want to take a minute to read this, since this is.
Oh,
the-
yeah.
Yeah.
Without talking?
Yeah. Sorry.
You go back.
I want to ask a question, but I don't want to interrupt you.
Well, I just want to make sure we all have
Yeah.
time to read the methods and means, since this is part of what's being discussed.
Well, I mean, we have to vote on it tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
You good, Mary Ann?
Yeah,
You want to?
Can I just ask
Oh,
one
go ahead,
question?
man, I'm sorry, you were.
You mentioned a new sewer lateral on this. Did you reference that?
Brian, can you take that?
Yeah, so the sewer lateral that we're talking about is the new connection to the sewer system with the force main that we were discussing. So the sewer, it's gonna be a pump system, so it'll go into a tank to a pump, and then it'll be pumped from the house site up through the causeway into to the road into Westfield Boulevard.
All of them are a pump system around here. But is there, what's the reason for upgrading the line? It's a standard line that's probably been in place for 30-plus years now. Do you suspect leakage or anything like that? Or why do more disturbance than necessary?
I gotta defer to Brian.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that would be my recommendation. just because, I don't know if, personally offhand, I don't know if it was ever cameraed or pressure tested, per se, but it being 30+ years old, and with the amount of, kind of work and everything that's being done on the property, I would recommend just replacing it nonetheless. But I would have to defer to Mr. Ovigny, obviously, if for additional information as far as any testing.
I guess my concern here would be, you're planning on doing something with your causeway, correct? Right, you're gonna do the causeway over, coming in.
Our understanding is we can't touch it while the water's up. Is that
No,
not correct?
in the future.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, we'll do what's required.
Yes.
I don't know what's
We
required.
don't know what that is yet.
The easiest way
Town
of going
planner
about
just said
this.
you
One
eventually have to.
One at a
redo
time,
it.
Mary Ann. Hang on, go ahead, Gary.
Your sewer is, the sewer is probably a Schedule 40 or Schedule 60 pipe to start with. It's 2 inches of low pressure grinder system. If you're gonna do your causeway over, I wouldn't recommend running a sewer line all the way out to the street right now until you do your causeway. Maybe if you wanna put your new sewer grinder pump in and run out and connect it at the same line, but then you do everything later on, because you're not gonna be able to run it above the culvert that's there, because you'll have a freeze problem. So you're gonna have to go under the culvert that's there. So there's gonna be a lot more construction in that. You don't wanna do twice.
Yeah, it's disturbing the lake bed twice.
But there's already a sewer there. This is what I'm not understanding.
already-
This is the
There's a
first
sewer.
thing I've heard of a new sewer.
Well,
Right?
that's.
There's a
we
sewer
didn't-
and a
that-
pump
We didn't
there.
make that statement.
No, I hear, I hear you.
Let me just, maybe for purposes, you can verify what I'm gonna say, and if I'm wrong, tell me. My understanding is that the homeowner is responsible from the house to the chamber. Okay? There's a green pail somewhere on your property.
Yeah.
That's the sewer
Oh, yeah.
chamber.
Right.
So you're responsible
Right,
from the house to that chamber.
right.
I believe the town is responsible for maintaining the sewer from the chamber to the street.
That is correct.
That is correct. So you may be undertaking something
Okay.
that belongs to the town's responsibility.
We're not looking for more work and to spend more.
Yeah, so.
Oh, no, I'm just-
So
Something-
maybe it was just talking about doing the sewer down to the pump. The pump is,
Again, this is
Yeah.
why in the past, things were done and we didn't know about it. Now we're talking about it for the future,
yeah,
and I brought something to your attention that you're gonna investigate. You can meet with town officials, Jim Rollins, Public Works?
Probably Vic in the sewer department or
What's that?
Victor Burn, sewer department.
Whomever,
Yeah.
and see if I'm right or wrong. And if I'm right, then, that you don't have to do it unless you choose to spend money. But anyway, right?
Right, the sewer pump is owned by the town. Pump chamber. All you're responsible.
To that point,
yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree. I think for the purpose of stabilization of the site as it is now, it does probably make more sense, regardless, to run from the house to the pump chamber. I don't know if the pump in the pump chamber itself is in failing condition.
If it is,
Or if that's actually,
That's all town.
It's all the town.
if that's even responsibility of town, then
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
replace the pipe from the house to the pump chamber, dig that trench, stabilize all of that in this process. And again, I would agree with you 100%. If the causeway needs to be ripped out and rebuilt, at that point, you can at that point when that happens, it may, depending on, I think, whether it's the homeowner's responsibility or the town's responsibility, I think at that point, it would probably be helpful to have it redone.
Okay? The town's not gonna do it unless it's necessary. So,
Yeah.
let's be honest about that.
Okay, so just to be clear, what we're talking about right now is the post facto permit for the work that was already done and anything that needs to be done immediately to stabilize the property, both in terms of erosion and sedimentation and runoff, stormwater runoff, right? That's it, that's what we're looking at right now.
And the well and the.
Yeah,
And the well, well, the well is part of the, well, it's not
No,
post
the
facto.
well has not happened.
Yeah.
The well has not happened.
Well,
so
there
that is
was a
not
hole
post-
dug, but it didn't end up being the right hole, so.
No, all they dug was, so when you build a new well, right, you make a pit next to it so
Right.
that some of the water, so that little pit was there.
Right.
But that's all that was ever there.
Right.
Yeah,
And I don't even think that's there now.
Nope,
No,
I
they
haven't
built
seen
back
it,
in.
no.
it's not,
Yeah,
But I don't know, the sequence to me, being in the construction trade for years, myself, at the time of the year we have right now, I would get rid of my stumps, all of the stumps that are going. I would regrade it, I'd get my infrastructure in for my storm drainage, for my leaders and all of that, regrade it, get it stabilized. We stabilized it with the soil, with the silt fence and the wattle around the outside. Other than that, there's not much you can do other than hydroseed it,
they can seed, yeah,
get it down,
yeah.
which we're happy to do.
move on
Well, it
from
looks like
there.
it's in the recommendations
Yes.
from Cole.
You know what I
But
mean? And
what,
then-
what I don't understand about the recommendations from Cole is that at the beginning, it says what Gary just said, which is secure your silt fencing and wattles. And then later in the recommendations, it says to remove them once the planting takes
I
hold.
think that's
But that's gonna be next year.
that's gonna be next year.
Yeah.
This stuff should stay in place
Yeah,
and maintained.
exactly.
Note that in line 5, they say spring 2027. In other words, they know it's next year.
Katie,
Well, by spring, I don't think, it doesn't sound like your whole landscape plan will even be designed and approved. Let it, like,
I don't
it would have to be planted now.
Right.
I think, in order for spring of '27 to yield a property that's stable enough for that silt fencing and
Katie
wattles
was
to
gonna
be
say
removed.
it's not
something.
happening now.
Yeah,
So if I can just jump in again, I understand the confusion, because usually it probably doesn't come at you piecemeal like this, but we're doing our best to try to address some of the immediate concerns. So in that, in that honor, we wanted to make sure that we could continue the project with some of the civil engineering that needs to happen at this point, but also addressing all of the stabilization concerns that have come up. So that is our number one priority, and that's what we wanted to bring before you as a commission at this juncture. We're working with the client to then develop a more final landscape plan, which will include, the final site plan conditions, and obviously we are working to understand, and we've been through the regulations, and so looking through all of the requirements and how that intersects with some of the ideas that the homeowners have and how we can achieve that. So bringing in the final condition, which will be just so you know it's coming, we are planning on doing a lot of native plantings, primarily some adaptive plantings. This client is very in tune with the progressive sort of approach to landscape and an understanding of how that relates to the greater environmental condition. And so we are working to achieve a final landscape plan and grading plan that will make that happen. But at this point, we really just wanted to make sure that we could present to you where the project is now and work with you as partner and make sure that we are communicating and you understand what our next steps are. We hope to have this to you, by the way, before spring of next year. Like, we're hoping to have this developed and continue this relationship so that you can see where the project is developing and know ahead of time. And if there are any other major moments that we need to, come to Jesus or have some conversations with you as staff and other members of the planning commission as well. that's our goal. So we just felt like we're at an impasse here where we need to address the immediate concerns. And I understand the confusion, because it's a little bit, here's this piece, and then there's gonna be another piece.
And I appreciate the way you presented that, because it triggered something in my mind. We always only have a certain amount of time on an application to act on it. So we have to limit our actions or our decision-making within that time frame as to what they've proposed. What I'm suggesting is that it may necessitate a new permit, not the continuation of this permit, because we have to bring it to closure. That's our responsibility within a time frame.
I think we figured, yeah.
So having said that, anything that may be outside of that time frame that we haven't addressed yet because you haven't presented it yet may necessitate a new application. Okay?
Right, Katie?
Am I accurate with that?
Yeah, that was discussed when I spoke with Steve Judas, who's not
Oh, again,
involved.
I
but
don't,
no,
that's
well,
your discussion, not
right,
mine.
yes, no,
Okay,
I-
good.
yeah.
So now everybody's.
Everybody's under that same
Okay, good.
understanding.
What's before us tonight that we have to decide? Is there anything?
It's the stormwater management for the roof, it's the stabilization of the site, it's the well.
Do we have plans for that?
Yes, you've had the site plan, I think we've had at least a month.
On it?
And then
Okay.
you've got the narrative to explain it all.
We
which
just got the narrative.
Unfortunately, you just received tonight. We've had it since Monday, but.
Is there anything that you would suggest to the commission that we not move ahead with?
From my perspective, having been out there, I'm out there every week. And, you know, I've read through the narrative, had a lengthy conversation with
The contractor?
Well, the contractor we've talked to many, many times, but also the folks from Cole.
With this front?
I am comfortable with this moving forward, myself personally.
Okay.
I am comfortable with this moving forward. We're at a point where I think we finally got the information that we need. I think everybody understands that the next steps need to come back to you again.
Yeah.
I think we finally reached that point, so that's my perspective.
I think we move forward, and this is me, I think we move forward with the well, we move forward with the stumping. You know, the place is stabilized to start with.
It is.
They did a good job when we went in and asked them to stabilize it. Move forward with the well, the stumping.
Hydroseeding.
And restabilizing the property. They're gonna move into
When you say stumping, there are trees that are maybe parallel to the ground already.
Yeah.
That's gonna get removed too,
Right,
besides
you're
the
gonna
stump.
let 'em
Okay,
remove
all of
stuff,
that.
and Then grade it off. Now you have a clean slate, clean canvas for them to do their work. There's gonna be more stuff they're gonna have to come back for a permit for. They're gonna have to address probably the retaining walls that are leaning.
Yes.
That's a whole new, that's a whole new program, but we can't.
That was
we can't
next for
entertain
me.
it here because we
always-
don't have time, so that's.
So I'll just take 5 seconds. This is Connecticut. There's a movie called Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House. Do you guys know it?
It's Cary Grant.
Saw it for the first time
But
last
he
week.
didn't build it in Winston, that's the problem.
Yes.
All right, I think you sense that we're willing to work with you moving forward. We're working in good faith, expecting that you're doing the same, and we believe that, I believe it. So,
You believe that from us as well now?
Yes, I said
okay,
that. I
good.
believe that.
I just was
And
double
I do.
checking, I was double checking.
I do.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion based on what Jeremy has introduced that he believes we can move forward safely with?
Yeah, I just wanna make
Go
sure
ahead.
there's a condition on whatever we approve, that none of the sedimentation erosion controls currently in place will be removed until and unless a new plan comes before the board and we understand
Yes.
what the future stabilization process is gonna
Or
be.
it can be repaired if there's any damage.
Yeah, it would
to
have to be
things like that.
maintained, yeah.
Yes, that
Yeah.
whatever the temporary thing is, will be maintained until such time as you've approved a permanent plan and whatever permanent things are in, right?
Well,
Like while they're getting.
Have actually, that the
Yes.
property is actually stabilized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kevin, you have
100%.
anything to add to this?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
All around the table?
And
Keep it moving.
All right, who wants to make the complicated motion?
Sorry,
Go ahead,
it's
Mary.
always me.
Because you complicate everything.
I do not. I just uncomplicated everything and got you the worksheet that was.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna do this very slowly, okay? So I'd like to make a motion to approve, application IWWC 26-4. Applicant Brian Vigne, Serena Home Improvement, 508 West Wakefield Boulevard. This is a post facto application for, let's call it causeway emergency reinforcement, tree removal, grading for walkout basement, new well,
Stump removal?
hang on, Frank, broke my train of thought. Underground infiltration chambers, and, we have to do the sewer line to the,
Pump.
To the pump.
to the pump, right? So how do we wanna say that? Sewer line-
just like you did.
To the pump chamber. From the house to the pump chamber, and any necessary stump removal. Is there anything I forgot?
No, I don't know if necessary stump removal. I think the stumps that are all caught and everything that's coming out should just come out, because otherwise you're gonna come back in.
If there's a stump, it should come out.
Okay.
When we bought the house, there were a number of stumps already in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
front yard, because
I understand.
things have been dying. And then disease trees were taken down, so those are new stumps.
Okay,
So-
stump removal,
Stump removal.
okay. Yes? I'm gonna add my
There is
conditions.
stumps on the outside of this silt fence. Yes, so I just want
Yeah.
to clarify that.
That's why I said necessary.
Yeah.
Hang on.
We've said that before.
Okay, but let's be clear in what we're
Yeah.
approving.
Within
With,
Well-
silt fence.
with
Inside the silt fence, is
inside of
what
this,
you're saying.
okay. So
Okay.
stump removal of all stumps that are inside of the silt fencing and or wattles, okay? And then I just want to add the condition that the current sedimentation erosion controls in the form of silt fencing and wattles, and if there are bales there as well, remain in place and remain maintained
Yeah.
until such time that the future landscaping plan is approved, implemented, and that the property is stabilized.
Perfect.
Okay, so, we good with that?
Yeah.
It's a
We're
long
gonna hide
motion.
the seed, right?
We need a second first, and then a discussion.
Do we have a second?
We're gonna hide your seed.
Oh, and hydroseed, thank you, and hydroseed.
You're a second?
Second.
Gary? I have a question. Why are we not removing or having the stumps removed on the off side of the silk fence?
The water's too high right now.
Yeah.
They're off
They're literally the shoreline.
the shoreline.
It's the
I
shoreline.
know where they are, and you think.
It'll put
so then
sedimentation into the lake.
suggestion then is those stumps, I think all the stumps should be removed. So those stumps on the off side, the water side of the silk fence can be removed or request to be removed
With a draw.
with a drawdown?
Eh,
You know what, I mean,
I think we need to look at that because we need to understand where
Shoreline is.
the shoreline is stable and where the shoreline is unstable.
well, then we'll have, they'll
Hang
record.
on, let me just finish.
Go ahead.
We need to understand where the shoreline is stable and unstable and where there are possible runoff issues as it relates to the current character of the shoreline. And I think that's a whole new kettle of fish.
Okay, what I'm suggesting, that could be, if we agree, a future proposal and reviewed by our engineer.
Of course, but that may
Again,
involve
okay.
building seawalls, and they're gonna have to do a ton of retaining wall work anyway. I think that's a whole different area of focus.
All right, we have a second. Is there any other questions on it? Gary, you good? Frank?
You're good.
I'm good.
Yeah, let's close it.
I think you're doing a wonderful job of the house with the buy-in. It looks great.
I'm a little worried about your cedar shingles.
they're pretty.
On your roof, they're
All right, wait,
gorgeous,
come on,
but
10 o'clock, we're going home. All those in favor?
they're beautiful.
All those in favor of approval?
Hey.
All right, unanimous. Good luck, enjoy your house. I have a picture, I looked for it. The next time we meet, ask me for it, I'll try to find it, of your house.
We've got some pictures from Matt, is it your dad?
Yeah, it would have been my father. My grandfather bought that house in 1962 when they.
We're trying to bring it back.
So they've got.
Oh my gosh, I want to see those photos.
All right.
All right, good night up there.
Good night.
Good night, nice meeting you guys.
It was lovely meeting you.
Same here.
Thank you for being so
Really good luck.
Oh,
All right, next.
we're gonna finish by 10 o'clock, guys.
Okay.
All right, LeBlanc, 26-11, the public hearing is continued. So do we have a motion to take no action on the decision?
Just to continue it.
Just so, we're good? All right, 26-13, the applicant is Brian Jellicoe. Anybody here? What?
He's on.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I looked and everybody shook their head. The proposal is a new dock with one floating section. For the record, you want to introduce yourself and that you're on video?
Sure. Brian Angelico, 722 Lake Drive. And I got the application 26-13.
Okay, you want to, there's a dock that's in the water already, and you want to, add to that dock. Is that correct?
The floating dock was put into the water. The other dock was already existing. I'm not looking to add to the stationary dock, just looking to leave the floating jet ski dock in there.
This is a jet ski ramp that was proposed in a location roughly close to a location where a boat lift had previously been received. There were some questions about that at the last meeting, and we presented you with information that we were able to pull from the file in terms of the location of the previously approved boat lift. Should be in your packets.
Yeah, I went out and I looked at the location, and according to the littoral boundaries here that John DeCara referenced, he's well within it. He's about 15 feet from the littoral boundary, and it only gets bigger as it goes out farther, so. This was, and it was already permitted.
So there were some questions on that last month. We were not able to find it before your meeting. We did find it. There was some confusion with the filing in the file room. We've located it.
Appreciate it.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that-
yeah, this one's,
Anybody, any concerns?
no.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve IWWC 26-13, 722 Lake Drive. Call it a new dock, but new jet ski lift, floating dock, so.
My second.
Okay, any discussion? There's no fee, not fee, bond.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Any other concerns? Jeff, you had
Just
your hands
speaking
up?
of the fee, there was some limited discussion before the meeting of possibly reversing that post facto fee based on the fact that we had more information in the file. That's for you to decide. I just wanted to remind you since we're so late in the night.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and one of the conditions is to refund the post facto permit fee. Because of the fact it was already a permitted lift in place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was already, as of 2012, it was permitted.
I'm gonna abstain from this one
Yo,
because
you missed
I
that.
wasn't at the last meeting. so-
All those in favor of approval? Okay,
That wasn't at the meeting.
two abstentions, Frank and, okay. Thank you. Good luck with your proposal or your approval. Next one is applicant 26-14. The applicant.
Oh, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Brian.
Oh, good night. You got approval.
And a refund.
And a refund. 26-14, Matthew Esepi?
Yep.
Is that the way you pronounce it?
Giuseppe, yep.
Esepi?
Yep.
269 West Lake Street, you want to put a new dock?
A boat, yeah, there's a boat lift that I just realized that, I just found out that there's been one on and off for years. It was my great-grandparents' house that we acquired a couple years ago, on Mazzarella. And, my cousin had one on and off, and I just put, we got the boat lift back and there. I just wanted to put a walkway on the side of the boat lift so we could step onto the boat lift safely and not have my mother, any type of a situation where she's gonna fall. So it was just simply I believe it's 3 by 16 feet, that I'll have my buddy Eric at the marina put up alongside. That'll come out in the obviously with the boat lift in the fall.
Are you asking for a 3 or 4 foot one? We had confusion.
Eric said, yeah, Eric was 3 or 4. I think it was like 4. He said there's 3 or 4, so I haven't made the purchase yet until I got approval, so, if we could do 4, I'll do 4. It just depends on what he had available. I'm not sure what his size was, so again, it was.
Customary, they're 4.
Okay, so then it's 4 feet then. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think off-the-shelf ones typically are 4.
And there's no issue with the property and littoral boundaries or anything?
No, we got tons.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the boat lift is permitted already?
My cousin said yes, and Shane said we couldn't find it, so I don't know where. I mean, there's been a boat lift there on and off for,
Well, should this application also include the boat lift if nobody knows if it's permitted or not?
Yeah, we believe it should.
Okay.
Yes, we were able to
Clear those.
clear that.
That's why I'm here, so we can make sure everything's on board, because.
Wait. You were able to confirm it was permitted?
No, it was not permitted.
Okay.
It's been there.
But it hasn't been
And
permitted?
the new owners informed us today that it has been there. They purchased the property with the boat lift there, but we went through the file and discovered that there's never been a permit.
So since it's
we
all
had the
compliant,
conversation.
we should add this to the
Yes.
permit?
Yeah,
then?
agreed.
That's part of the permit,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Thank you, Mary Ann.
Yeah, no problem.
So it's a new dock walkway.
Uncomplicating.
It's 4 by 16,
Correct.
and approval of an existing boat lift.
Well, and permitting. a
Permit.
boat.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry.
All right, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve IWWC 26-14, Matasepi, 269 West Lake Street, for a new dock walkway, 4 feet by 16 feet, and permitting the existing boat lift.
And the placement.
Second, Gary. All those in favor? Becomes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have a
for
good
your
night.
pa-
Have a
Thank
great
you for
night.
your patience.
Appreciate it.
Good night. New business? No? Action,
Perhaps.
agent determinations?
Public comments went a little later.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Agent approvals? Jeff, you want to talk about them?
Yes, first one.
2615?
2615 is for a fence in the upland review area. As you guys are aware, this requires a wetlands permit in addition to a special permit with planning and zoning, little to no disturbance, agent approval. Next two are both driveways. As you guys are aware, as part of our new process with driveways around the lake, we request a wetlands permit or an as-of-right permit. These are both as-of-right permits because there was no expansion to the footprint of the existing driveway, basically resurfacing. But what these do is they give us an opportunity to speak with the contractor, to make recommendations and have them install certain protections. If there are catch basins in the area, or worse yet, if it's downslope towards the lake, for protections while that work is going on. And both of those were approved as of-right applications. Next, our only existing violation that we're carrying right now is 139 West Wakefield. As you guys are aware, a mediation session has been scheduled for September. Shortly after that has been scheduled, the property owner has erected a porta potty on the waterfront, and there is now a floating jet ski float in the water, in addition to the fingers of the dock have finally been put back in the water. So I won't editorialize, but violation letters are going out for both the porta potty and jet ski float.
Okay, is the jet ski owned by the property owner?
I don't know, she's not in regular communication with the
Well,
office.
you
I
can
don't
look
think she
at,
can be.
you can look at the Connecticut number on it.
I'd probably have to trespass to do that.
It's in violation, I don't think, why would it trespass? Get on a boat.
She's getting a violation letter already, Steve.
I think because it's in the court systems, it would come from the court with an injunction, like to stop that, so they'd probably have to go through Nelligan.
And that's the reason that the notice of violation
Yeah.
is going out, so that they can then go to Nelligan and
Yeah.
work their way through
Right,
the system.
all part of the record.
You know what, can you request from the police department the next time they're out there on a rainy day? Ask them to get the
I
Connecticut,
can make the request.
Try that, Ray, don't work.
ask them to get that Connecticut number and see who the jet ski is licensed to, or owned by. Thank you.
Yeah, we're on Sunday, we're at a meeting Saturday.
This thing doesn't want to leave us.
No.
And the permitted application review inspection, you want to talk about that a little bit? Because we've talked about it.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do, you know, we've had a couple of things, a couple of emails that have gone around between staff and a few members of the commission about some of the as-of-right stuff and the agent approvals. What we've decided and we've discovered and we're starting to set up is that through OpenGov, which is our online permitting system where we track everything that goes on with every property in town, we can send automatic updates on a regular basis. And so we're gonna start sending you all a report weekly, which will give you the information about what staff has done. So in terms of agent approvals, as of right determinations, you'll get reports. Unfortunately, they're gonna have to be separate reports, so you'll get 2 separate emails, and then you'll be able to grab those reports, and you'll be able to see what's been approved. And then we're also gonna look into, this one's gonna be a little bit more complicated, so it's gonna take us a little bit of time, a weekly report that sort of shows procedural process and where we are in the process on things that have already been approved. So when the construction start happens, you'll be able to see some inspections that take place along the way, and you'll be able to kind of see where the process is. Hopefully that helps you to understand when you're out driving around what is permitted.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Because when you see 2 giant excavators
I get it.
on a
Yeah.
15%
I get it.
incline going down to the water without ever having seen a permit,
Yep.
it's concerning.
That's why we're doing the reports.
And that was, we've talked about that, and I think, from my perspective, the purpose of generating this kind of a report is that I don't necessarily want to call the office and tell them there's a giant excavator out there. You know, I want the office to tell us it's there,
Correct.
and we know about it.
And we know about it.
Yes, that's.
Exactly.
we
Because then
wanna-
I see the excavators and the disturbance on the 15% incline,
Yeah,
and
we
I
know.
understand that's already been
We
permitted.
got, yeah,
And
again,
we recognize, we put them on the agenda, but you only meet once a month, so
Yeah,
that's
so-
why, we're gonna do them weekly, and if for whatever reason
and
that
then you
turns
know
out
what,
to not
some
be
things
enough, we'll do
are,
them twice a week
some,
for you.
some things are
Flood your
approved,
inbox.
some things are approved a year ago,
Right.
and then they start tomorrow, so.
That's right,
Yeah, there's a
You know,
5-year
that's-
window.
yeah.
So
I didn't think-
those will be a little bit more complicated to set up, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, you'll
Okay,
figure it
good
out.
to try. It's a good,
Yeah, that'd be
good way to go.
Public Works, anything? Russ and Jeff, Russ is not here. The Highland Lake Watershed Liaison, Jamie?
Well, Jamie was at our yearly meeting.
Good.
I was, but I didn't bring all those notes, I just thought I'd hit the highlights. The poker run is Saturday, and I believe it starts at the dock at
Shore Drive.
On
104 Shore
Shore
Drive.
Drive, yes.
Yep.
And then I guess the QR code has all the information for all the stops and everything. The boat parade is on the 25th, and it's going clockwise this year,
What time does it start?
7 p.m.
And the theme is 250
250
years.
years, yep.
Oh,
And then the fall cleanup is at Racia Beach on October 3rd, and that's at 9:30.
okay. Mary Ann, anything to add to that? Are you good?
When the minutes are out from the early meeting, I just recommend everybody on the commission read them, because a lot was discussed about water quality, treating plants, invasives versus nuisance plants, and there was a very kind of intense and lively discussion about marine patrol and what's going on and what's not going on, resource challenges that the police department has, folks wishing there was more ticketing happening and less warnings because people seem to not be taking it seriously, and the increased wave action from the larger boats is a lot of property damage is being caused, so people are very concerned about that. And there is a discussion about whether or not we need to look at the carrying capacity of the lake as more and more boats are being launched in various different methods. So probably worth reading the minutes so you guys are aware of what those lake residents are concerned about.
When will they be out?
Good question, I'm not sure, but I'll let you all know when they're out, but they get sent to the membership. If you're a member, they get emailed.
Emails? Oh,
Yeah.
email,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you want to
And
send
I
them to
was
the
just gonna
office,
say,
we could
it would-
advance them to.
Sure, I'll do that.
You copy and then put it in our packet?
Yep.
I'll bite. Why are you guys here?
Come on up.
Come on up.
Sorry you guys had to sit through the whole thing.
I'm sure it was fun at least, right?
James Pagano, 840 East Wakefield Boulevard. My wife Eileen. So I've seen items on the agenda for the past few months about wakeboarding and wakeboating, and I was wondering what the commission could tell me about what's going to be happening and/or resolutions, and/or I have a question about wakeboarding in general, which I'm not a boat. I'm kind of new to boating. So the question that I have is, if they are not surfing, can they take that piece up? Can we enforce that? Because.
No.
No, of course, we can't enforce anything, I understand that, because we have no police out there, but they were out Sunday at 6 o'clock. But if we could somehow make them bring up the thing, because there's a lot of these wake boats out there that are not even having anybody surfing, and they're still causing that. And the poor people at that Narrows in Second Bay must be getting killed. Because I got swamped twice already this year. And I know enough after I got swamped 2 years ago to move away from them. But I still got swamped twice this year.
While you were in the boat or at
In the
the house?
boat. No, in the boat, moving. The first one is fine, but the second wave comes up and comes right over the bow.
See, that's where the police presence and enforcement,
Again,
you know,
they
because
were doing something that I believe was legal. They weren't going through the Narrows at the time. They were in the middle of the lake. But my question is, what is
They
going
could
to happen
they
with
could-
wakeboating in
wait, hang
general?
on, Frank. Go ahead.
What is going to happen in wakeboating in general?
Frank?
Well, the state gave it that each town now has to make the regulations.
Yeah, so the state did a study, the study's available online.
Where?
Connecticut DEP's website, you should be able to find it.
Okay, and
Yeah.
just see what their recommendation was.
Yeah, so it's a big study with, I wouldn't say that they gave recommendations. What they did was they provided a whole lot of information and research about what those larger waves do to the lake bed at different depths, and the distance that is required for those waves to dissipate. So what has been, and we don't actually have any power to make any decisions about anything, right? We can do the research and we can come together as a commission and come up with a set of recommendations to bring to the Board of Selectmen. But ultimately, if there's a regulatory change, I think it would have to be through the selectmen. So if we followed that information sort of to the letter, it would be safe for the lake bottom if wakeboard boats were in deeper waters. I think it's 60 feet.
60 feet?
Is it 60, or is it?
Well, that's kind of,
45, I thought.
No,
It
no.
affected 45.
Sorry.
Right?
I don't think,
Studies online.
The study's online, you have to
There's
look
the
it up.
site, so
But
you can
in
Google
deeper waters, it doesn't churn up the lake bottom and disturb all the or bring up all the nutrients that help feed the bad bacteria. And the dissipation, I think, is pretty far. It's like 600 feet, if I recall. It's a lot. So what it means is that there are very few places in the lake where those wakeboard boats can operate with the optimal sort of opportunity to mitigate disturbance, both to the lake bed, to property owners, and to kayakers, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's incumbent upon all of us over the winter, right? Right now is kind of nothing will get decided before the summer's over, right?
I understand.
So make it a winter project for us to really study this stuff, probably have a workshop together, and come up with a line on a set of recommendations as a commission, and then bring them over to the Board of
Board of
Selectmen.
Selectmen.
Yeah.
and then that would require probably a public hearing?
Yes,
Because
for
I'm sure the wakeboat people that are on the lake are gonna raise up in arms and say, no way, I
It would
can't,
very
I don't
much
want this.
require
meantime,
probably more than
when
I
one.
mean,
they're
we
not
outnumber them,
wakeboarding,
we outnumber them, but still.
Yeah, I know, but in the meantime, the people who own these boats, if they're not wakeboarding, they could lower it, take the water out of the tanks, change the trim on the boat, and become a regular
you know
vessel on the lake.
what you introduced a whole nother conversation in terms of the safety to other boaters,
Correct.
as opposed to,
I'm sure I'm not the only one that's gotten stopped.
again, and I would suggest that you have some kind of a meeting with the police department to have them alert when police are on patrol on the lake to look for those kind of incidents. Only because, you lose control of your boat, water gets splashed.
First time it happened, I was at the pilot seat, the water was at my waist,
Yeah,
by me.
you don't wanna lose
Because I
control of
wasn't
your
aware
boat.
of what the heck that was and
Yeah.
how it happened. After that, I know enough, but I run away from it as far as I can.
Hang on.
All I was gonna say was, all of these concerns, and I'm sorry to do this, Bill, need to go to Board of Selectmen, not this board.
Right.
Boating is a permitted use as of right under the wetland statutes, so there's really nothing this commission can do with regard to boating in the water. Ordinances govern all of that stuff, so.
But we can make
We can make
recommendations.
recommendations,
We can make a
but in terms of
recommendation
boating
based
People-
and all of
people
that
could-
stuff,
And we
that's
could,
not what
and
this
we
says.
could listen.
People could use common sense.
Sorry, I apologize first.
All right, all right, thank you. Thank,
Anybody that has a open front deck must have this issue, because I'm not the only one. And it's not like I'm going at high speeds. I don't even go 10 or 15 miles an hour is my max. Usually I'm cruising at the 5-mile-an-hour limit. 'Cause that's just the way I
I'm in
enjoy the
Cove,
lake.
and I mean, they
I'm
come
there to
right
enjoy the
in.
lake. I'm not there to go running up
I'm
and
in a
down.
cove where they water ski and they think it's the same thing.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Any other comments before we close? That's it?
Selectmen?
Did you want, no? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Gary, all those in favor? Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right. I yearn for a non-Highland Lake thing. Before, I mean, there's more water in this town, in the lake.
I think it does press, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Are there
Yeah.
plans?
And then focus on what the actual task is.
Right.
So I skipped.
Yeah, they are.
I went around the whole video and everything, I took screenshots, and I created a whole spreadsheet. I didn't finish it yet, because I wanted